This is why I joined Foreplay. So we have conversations like
the
this.
Tour Championship happened yesterday. We've yet to say
we're talking about turbines.
Foreplay presented by Barstool Sports. Big show, monumental show, huge moment, really in the history of the podcast. We are joined by the usual crew. We have myself, Trent Ryan, who's the OG. We got Frankie, we got Lurch, and we have added Dan Rapaport. The announcement came out just 30 minutes ago, so I think it's still pretty fresh. Obviously, we've known about it. There's a whole fucking process, the whole deal. We'll get into it. We're going to talk about all of it. It's a very big decision for Danny, for his career, to sort of pivot over to the pirate ship from traditional media. A massive curveball, I would imagine, to everyone out there, that we went out and hired someone that is essentially viewed as a young golf journalist and writer to join our operation. So again, we're going to get into all of it. I have all my opinions and excitement. Everyone on the show does. I do feel like we should start by throwing it to Danny, who, from your vantage point, I would love to hear about what your last 30 minutes has been like, what your last 30 days has been like, and just kind of where your mindset's at now that you are officially a part of Foreplay and Barstool Sports.
Yeah, I was just telling you guys before we started recording that I feel like I'm at the part of the party where you just kind of need to go out and have a cigarette by yourself. To go straight from the announcement video right into this podcast, definitely a lot. I'm definitely yearning for some alone time. No, it's amazing. It's great. My future mother-in-law is staying here this week, and she's like, "Well, what's your schedule this morning?" I'm like, "You need to be out of the apartment by 10 a.m." She's like, "Oh, well, what time are you recording?" I'm like, 10:30. She's like, "Well, what do you need?" I'm like, "You don't understand. Like, my phone's about to be complete blow up. I'm not going to be able to talk to you. I don't want to talk to you." It's been amazing. I actually felt like for the last 2 years, like I had, and you guys could talk to my friends for validation here. Like I've said multiple times, like I see a scenario in which I end up there. This has been something that I've sort of eyed for a while. And then Riggs, as soon as we started talking at the US Open, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I kind of tried to play hard to get. Probably didn't do a very good job. It was probably like, oh, yep, this is going to happen. The first conversation that we had, I kind of knew. So, and then this weekend, I talked to Riggs about going quiet for a little bit, not tweeting. One of the hardest things. I was texting Riggs yesterday. I was like, I am sitting on so many witty tweets right now that would just absolutely explode. But yeah, no, it's cool. It's surreal.
I was just feeding you too.
Excited.
I was like, what do you think about this move? Is Cam Smith? And you're just like, fuck you.
Yeah, Riggs is like taking his tweets.
He's like, all the drama, you know, don't you have takes on all the drama? I'm like, stop it, Riggs.
Yeah, no, for us, it's weird because not weird. It's just different because we've never done anything like this before. We've never hired someone really intentionally or from the outside. We kind of, it happened organically, if you will. We were the guys at Barstool who were into golf. Trent and I did a couple weeks ago an entire trip down memory lane, but we basically were the two guys that liked golf. Everyone was starting a podcast. So we were like, why don't we start a golf podcast? Frankie ended up doing a few shows and he joined full time. Lurch ended up playing a bunch of golf with us, so he joined, and it all kind of just happened more naturally, I would say, than we went out and actually acquired someone. We did the show with you at the US Open, which a bunch of stuff came together that week, but we recorded it on Wednesday. We were standing outside in the kind of player caddy area. People were walking by. It was a very natural, like, podcast, the way that we do it, almost like our lobby podcast, where all kinds of stuff was going on. We jumped in, and you were a part of it, and I think afterwards we all very much were just like, well, that was really natural. What do we like? Can we hire people? How does that work? And we kind of just started the process. And so since pretty much the US Open, we've been eyeing this. We've been going back and forth. You and I had a lot of good conversations, long conversations about, you know, the move for you, right? Like for me, I started reading Barstool in 2008. I was working a sales job. Working at Barstool versus literally any other path I could have imagined was just the biggest no-brainer. I learned a lot in talking to you about, you know, for someone that has pursued the career that you've pursued and made the leaps that you've made, that had the success that you've had. Tiger Woods calls you D, the whole fucking deal, to then pivot from that and be like, I'm going to join Barstool Sports. For you, that's a huge career move.
Huge career move. Like I was doing exactly what I wanted to do since I was a kid. Like I remember, like I always wanted to be like an ESPN Sports Center anchor. That was like the goal. And then, you know, I went to journalism school. I got a job at Sports Illustrated. Like I was doing exactly what I wanted to do. And then I moved over to Golf Digest and traveling around the world, like writing about, and I don't know, like it's not easy to admit to yourself that, you know, what you've basically oriented your whole life toward up until that point is not what you want to do anymore. And I just remember, I wrote about this in the blog, barstoolsports.com, the new home of Daniel Rapp's writing.
Let's go.
I wrote about this. Like, I remember at the President's Cup, you know, when you guys came in there swinging your big dicks around and got into all the fights with all my colleagues. And I just remember being like, it was an eye-opening moment for me because you just sort of start to realize, and I've talked to you about this, Riggs, like all these rules they're not real. Like all these rules that I grew up thinking like, you know, you can't have an opinion and you can't, you know, there's no cheering in the press box and, you know, you have to do this. It's just like, it's just not how media works anymore. And you guys, for me, really signified everything that was new and fresh about the way that people consume media. And, you know, I just was jealous. I just really wanted to join you guys and do what you guys do and play a bunch of golf and talk to pros like real human beings. Like I have this whole personality that I feel like I've had to, you know, not keep under wraps, but when you're working at one of these like legacy media places, there's certain things you just can't say. There's certain things you can't tweet. There's certain things that you just can't do. And I just didn't feel like there was any reason why. It was just like, what am I doing anymore? So yeah, this is like, I'm sure a lot of my journalism professors are probably throwing up seeing this news. But for me, this is a long time coming, and I could not be more excited to be joining you guys.
Those journalism teachers might be throwing up, but you're still going to be doing a lot of what you were doing before as well. You're just adding to it. You're jumping on the podcast. You're going to be doing videos with us. I read your opening blog and I watched your opening video. I thought they both were fantastic. And this place just has freedom. Barstool Sports allows as much freedom as you want, that we let you go off, or Dave and Erica, what they've all created, they kind of let you do your own thing. And if people like it and people gravitate towards it, they're going to support it. And we found you, we saw you, we're like, we love what this guy is doing. Everybody read the Morgan Hoffman piece. That shit was fucking phenomenal. You're still going to be doing stuff like that. You're just adding to it. And the freedom here is endless.
I mean, imagine, put yourself in my shoes. Like anybody, someone calls you and they're like, hey, we want to give you total creative freedom to do what you do. We think that you do a really good job. We think you have your finger on the pulse and we want to unleash you. I mean, yeah. As someone in my position, it was the easiest decision in the world. Like it was just, awesome. Yeah, it was a total no brainer. And you're right. Like, I don't know exactly what it's going to look like. I'm definitely going to keep writing. I love writing, but that's what's cool about this place. I feel like you guys have such a relationship with your listeners and your viewers that like, you figure out what works. You try it, right? And if people like it and they want more of it, then you do more of it. And if they don't, then you pivot off it. And there's just like that flexibility and that sort of direct link between the consumer and you guys that I felt like didn't really exist in my last place. There's a lot of editors. There's a whole process. Here it's like, if it works, do it. And that's really, really cool. I couldn't be luckier to be in that position.
If you want any real pointers on how to win over the audience, use the word fuck every other word and then talk about your bum hole. Actually, no, don't do any of those things. They hate that stuff, which is actually gonna be really good to add you into this. It just feels a little more professional, even though you're not like in that box. You're just really, really talented. And I think sometimes that like crosses over into like, oh, he's like buttoned up and professional and he's like golf media, but like, no, it's just, you're really talented at what you do. And it comes off like really impressive as opposed to like professional. And now adding that to us, it's like, holy shit. Now we get a whole new landscape, a whole new like viewpoint from the things we're already talking about. Like someone that actually has done the work and like the dirty work or the investigative work, or like looks into things that we don't look into. And it's just, it's totally different so I'm happy for you. I'm happy for us, but I'm more happy for our listeners that listen to every single one of our shows. They listen to us for 5 hours a week talking about golf. And now they have this whole new, brand new, fresh take on the game that they love. That's fucking awesome for the listeners.
That's one of the things I was most excited about, is like, I felt like I was actually bringing something to you guys.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I wasn't just joining another, chorus of people who do the same things that I do. Like, I felt like I was bringing a different angle, and I'm going to have my boots on the ground. I'm still going to be going to events. I'm still, working the phones. I was texting with Riggs these last couple of weeks. I was trying to just take time off, but like anytime something happened, I just could not help myself. I was calling these agents. They're like, aren't you like out of a job or something? I'm like, don't worry about it, bro. I'm just trying to stay informed. I can't stay out of it for too long. But that's what was so exciting to me about joining this place, was like, I felt like I could have a role here, and I felt like I could add something to the show twice a week. You know, I'm going to work my ass off to have fresh nuggets. I'm going to talk to people. You know, it's different for me because like a lot of it at Golf Digest was like all of my insider stuff, all of the product of that was in my writing, right? Like you'd write sources tell Golf. Like now I can just come on here and tell you guys what I'm hearing. You know, it's just
Fuck yeah.
It's like I feel like the veil has been taken off. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, and a big part of it in all those conversations was, you know, that we wanted you to be you. Like we don't want to hire you to be more like us. We want you to literally just be Dan Rapaport and do whatever you think is the best way to cover golf. And you do bring a perspective, an insightful perspective on golf that we don't currently have. But another big part of that is that's what you fucking love, right? Like we at Barstool, Dave's been huge on like never really hiring people to fill a void. He hires people that he thinks are talented, and then those people choose verticals to cover that they just love, because his view is that if you're really passionate about something and you're talented, you'll do a good job covering it. And I think that what's awesome is that the nuts and bolts of pro golf and the tour and being deep into that world is what you love to do. And nobody on this show loves to do that. Yes, there are moments when we love pro golf and we go nuts for it. We've done 2.5, 3 hour shows reacting to what we saw. I thought the finish yesterday at Eastlake was fantastic. And it reminded me of the Canadian Open, where it's like, it was awesome. Obviously, Rory was a big part of both of those things, so we can get into it. But on a day-to-day basis, none of the other four of us are that passionate about the inside track as what's going on in pro golf. And you are. That's what you like. You couldn't keep your fucking fingers off your phone, even though you were in between jobs and you should have been on vacation for 2 days. Like, that's what you like to do. And so having someone, and in all of our conversations, you know, you'd be like, well, can I still like write kind of the stuff that I've been writing? We're like, yes, absolutely. Nobody on earth is going to want that stuff more than us. And then our listeners and readers of like, you're taking all the talent that you have showcased at Digest and Sports Illustrated, and we're just putting it on BarstoolSports.com. And then we're also adding you to the podcast, and you'll be part of video series, and you're going to come up with your own video series. And like, you're just able to chase whatever the hell you want to chase. And if you want to say shit that you probably couldn't say shit previously, that's great. You're now, you're a Barstool personality that can say and do pretty much whatever you want, as long as you don't like encourage people to gamble irresponsibly. I think you're fine.
Yeah, and like, you know, professional golfers talk about like getting that rush when they come to an event or come to a major. Like, I'm such a fucking nerd. I get that when I walk into a media center at a golf tournament. I really do. Like, there's nowhere I feel more alive than like walking the groups, walking practice rounds with the guys, just shooting the shit like on a Tuesday. So the fact that there's a place that doesn't just tolerate that sort of nerdiness but encourages it, yeah, we're gonna do some really, really cool things together. And again, I don't really exactly know 100% what it's gonna look like, and that's one of the exciting things to me is like trial and error. We're gonna see what works. We're gonna see what works and what doesn't work. And yeah, just feeling really lucky. It feels a little surreal. Again, kind of just jonesing for a metaphorical cigarette outside right now by myself, but I couldn't be happier to be here.
And I love it too, because not only going to make yourself better, you're going to make us better too. I feel I'm going to have a shot of adrenaline into like, things have been going so well with foreplay, and I feel like we've been kind of just rolling down this hill with more momentum. But it's like, sometimes you just get not comfortable, but things start to become easier. You're like, oh, we're just going to release these videos, and like, we're going to go to we're getting more access. So things also, I think my mic is just insanely loud. So sorry if that's been happening.
I think you sound good.
Yeah, color looks good, Frankie. System. It's kind of your day today.
I appreciate that. We got these new hats in the store, by the way.
By the way, his video is doing really well, so I just tweeted out the link to the merchandise below it. So
anyway,
already moving merch.
I threw our SoundCloud out there.
I just think sometimes like we kind of, or I personally will be like, yeah, we can get through this week just doing the things we already do, and like, because we all have our own thing on this podcast, and now we add like a new you. Like, you are just so fucking, you're going to be so excited, and you're going to be so energetic about this job, and you're going to be bringing so many more things. It's like, holy shit, we got to step up. We got to get to your level now. It's going to add like a whole new dynamic to us too. I feel more like motivated to get better now, which is really, really cool. I think the whole thing's just great.
And that's not even talking about the actual playing golf. We'll have some fun.
Oh, I know. Yeah,
I'm looking forward to it. I'm intense. I'm a bit of a psycho, just so you guys know.
Good. How's the game, Danny?
Game's all right. Game's all right. I'm not going to make any declarations. Notice I didn't say anything about, you know, I'm gonna wait and see, because I don't want to come out here and say, oh, my game's great, but and then I come out and I'm fucking shaking on the first tee of our first video together, because I will be nervous. You can't come out there and say, you know, I'm the best player, I'm gonna this, that, and not back it up. So I'm gonna try to be really, really downplay it, and hopefully you know, maybe practice a little bit.
Well, I'm going to make you say it without saying it. What's your background in the game of golf? Because now people need to know if they don't already know it. You can't step to the first tee and have people blind to this.
I grew up playing competitively. I sort of half-assed tried to walk on at Northwestern. That's actually where I became friends with Matt Fitzpatrick, because he was the only kid my year who was going to be on the golf team. He was the #1 amateur literally in the world at the time. So I kind of saw the writing on the wall. I was like, this is never going to happen for me. But yeah, no, I'm like a, you know, hopefully a little bit better than scratch. So we'll see what the video shows, but that's sort of where my game's been. Trying to get back into like the mid-am competitive level, which is different. The difference between scratch and, you know, being able to shoot under par in a USGA qualifier is very, very different. But that's where we're at. And I think, you know, that's going to be another thing that I'm excited about, is like, I'm trying to get to like that level. And I think that's a journey that people will think is cool. You know,
Dude, that's awesome.
I'm facing my fears.
Awesome.
Like, dude, competing is fucking scary, bro. I've played like 5 or 6 tournaments the last couple of years, and like, not saying that I'm famous by any stretch of the imagination, but like, you're accountable, right? Like, especially now, it's like, if I play in a tournament, everyone's gonna be like, oh my god, Rapaport guy says he's a +1, he shot 84. Like, wow.
Right.
Like, it's hard, it's scary, like putting yourself out there. I know when I turn the mic on, I'm going to do a good job. I don't know that when I put the ball on the tee that it's not going to be 4 right away. You know what I mean? Like, we all have our skills in life. And I think you guys are going to help me. You know, hopefully some of you guys will caddy for me when I do make these things, because I will make these things. And we're going to have a fucking great time doing it.
Dude, the YouTube will let you know what your handicap is, by the way. They're very good.
You don't need to plug any scores in. They'll tell you.
It's not up to the gym. It's up to the YouTube.
I already saw some comments. That were like, what's his handicap? And someone's like, well, what's a Riggs handicap or an official handicap? Because they're two very different things.
If you don't hit the ball like Rory off the tee every time, just 330 pipe down the middle, you can't be a single digit.
It's or like, you can't talk about golf. Yeah, you're not allowed to talk about golf publicly.
Well, the funny thing is, if once you join this podcast, you're all of a sudden supposed to be like a professional elite golfer, like because of the amount you play, because of the amount people watch you, which I get, we play more than the average person, but all of a sudden you enter this arena where you have to be like really good at the sport that you're doing a video on. So that's a whole new world. And then how exciting is it for him, for Danny, now that like he played competitive golf growing up, he's joining more competitive golf tournaments, and now you're doing it every single time you tee it up. You have hundreds of thousands of people watching you. That's going to add to that competitive juices on the course so much. I've always said, like, this is simulation. We get to play golf against professional golfers in like big time situations. You get to hit a chip like against fucking Scotty Scheffler to win a match. Like, when do you get to ever do that? And all of a sudden you get to like reignite that like competitive high school sports like person inside you. It's fucking nuts.
I was talking about this with my fiance last night. It's like, I actually can't believe this is my job now.
Yeah.
Like, I really can't believe it, because I've said to my friends so many times, like, there is literally nothing better than a golf trip. Like, that's my purest belief. If you have 4 guys or 8 guys or whatever it is, and everyone's down, right? Everyone's about it. Everyone's there. You're in the middle of nowhere. You're hammered at 11 a.m. You're playing golf. You're talking shit. Like, that is the greatest thing in the world. That is what most people work for. This is now a big part of my work, which honestly, I have to thank you guys for making this a thing. Like, when I was in journalism school, when I was like, this wasn't a thing, you know, like, people weren't watching other people play golf, especially, you know, guys who are shooting in the, you know, high 70s, low 80s or low 90s or below 90, Trent, hopefully today. But like, it just wasn't a thing. And then once that became a thing, I wanted to do it so badly, and now I get to. So thank you. Thank you all. You're welcome. Great.
No, it is like when you say
he stumbled into this so hard.
Like, dude,
stumbled right. Like what Frankie was saying, like, everybody now expects people who join this podcast to be the best golfer in the world. I actually broke through going the other way. If you are the worst golfer, one of the worst golfers in the world, people actually somehow appreciate that more. So it's just a very, very weird world that you've just stepped into.
I can't wait. I can't fucking wait.
It truly is. And the golf trip part is so true. I mean, it's almost like airport rules where it's just you wake up at the beginning of a trip and it's, you got like a 7:50 tee time and your buddy at 7:30 just walks with 8 double transfusions and everyone's like, yeah, no, that's normal. It's fucking 7:30 in the morning. What are you people doing? So yeah, we've had some good times on the trips. I know if like Forest Dunes last year in Michigan stood out. We had such a phenomenal time filming that whole thing that we kind of looked around like, how is this what we do? We got a couple big ones coming up. We got Myrtle Beach and we've got Big Cedar Lodge. And then next year we're trying to plan a Canadian one, which we got a lot of chatter about because we were in Canada last week. Frankie and I were up there. We got to talk about that. We got a ton to get to. We got to first talk about Gametime. I know Danny just mentioned the rush of walking into an event as a media member, the media center, walking inside the ropes. Everybody gets that rush when you go to a live event, whether it's golf, whether it's a concert. Frankie here is our own little drummer boy who plays in a band. So concerts, live shows, comedy, whatever the hell it might be. Gametime, they're the exclusive ticketing partner of Barstool Sports, created by fans for fans. Gametime is a new ticketing app that makes it easier than ever to score. I mean, we got footballs back. We've got hockey and NBA are coming back very soon.
Baseball playoffs, baby. I went to a baseball game the other day, courtesy of Gametime. Last minute, Yankees, Mets, sitting around saying, let's just go to the fucking game. We went to the game. We're sitting so close. Frankie Montress was pitching, and he's walking from the outfield bullpen, and someone goes, let's go, Frankie. And I turn around. I said, thanks, boys. And it was just the pitcher, Frankie. So that was embarrassing. But those are the things you have to deal with when you go use Gametime, is you get so close to the action that if the pitcher has the same name as you, that you're going to confuse it with you being pseudo famous and thinking that your ego is you having a bigger ego than you actually are. So yeah, it was bad. That was a bad moment. But
how did they react? How did the guys behind me react when
the guy was like, what? Sorry, what? He like looked at me like, no, I was just pointing at the MLB pitcher that's about to pitch in the game.
You were like, it's a long story. I was
like, yeah, I just like a Danny Rapp story in the podcast. So I thought everyone knew everything was so big. So
download the Gametime app. Go to the account tab to create a login. Redeem code Fore for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Download Gametime. Last minute tickets. Lowest price guaranteed. That's a guarantee. Use the redeem code Fore for $20 off your first purchase. And again, terms do apply. Lurch, I saw you posted a video. I actually didn't even get to listen to it because we were just beginning the show. I imagine a lot of people are probably going to ask, like, oh, what's the deal with Lurch? From my vantage point, it's like, I think everybody knows that Lurch has clearly had a very good job elsewhere. I think the majority of your professional commitment time is clearly to the other job, and you've joined us as much as you possibly could, whether it's for podcasts, whether it's for different videos, whether it's different major championship coverage. So I think from our vantage point, you're going to join stuff whenever you can.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's a great thing for the pod. I'm psyched that Danny's on board. It's definitely, different for me. Riggs, we spoke last week. So like in terms of like, commitments, financial commitments and all that stuff, it's like I'm part of Axon. This is going to be less so now because of all the news, but I'm going to certainly join as a fifth mic here and there. Excited for the path of foreplay. It's been awesome to be part of it, obviously, for the last couple of years. Always been in a tweener spot with my sales gig and this. And so I think there's more to accomplish now. Certainly with the four of you traveling, doing whatever. And I'll try to be part of it here and there, but probably less so than what's been in the past. But it's been an awesome run. Golf's awesome. It's brought me a lot of like good memories, good things. And we'll see. I might do some funky stuff on the side as well. And who knows where the world will lead you, but it's it's a great place.
Can't imagine what that'll be.
Funky stuff.
Yeah, but it gives me a little freedom, right? The power of Barstool. It's like I wasn't, I just played golf and smacked it around. I started playing golf outside of Boston with 30 guys. Sucked and did kind of what Trent's mission on, like I was in the 90s, and then first day of the next season I shot 85 and I was like, dude, maybe I can get halfway decent at this thing. Then it led to this podcast and whatever's gone after that. So man, it's a joy, and I'm pumped that Danny Rapp's on board. I'm pumped for the future of golf, where the hell it's going. Rory winning yesterday to just be like the sample of the PGA Tour and like give a kind of double middle fingers to Jay Monahan. I actually did a video because I bought some Thai food yesterday. I was having dinner with little nieces, and I just pictured Monahan like on a pogo stick, jumping around, just smiling, just in a driveway, just being a kid. I can't imagine how happy that dude was, like all said and done. So yeah, congrats, Danny. Pumped you're on board. For me, yeah, that's just working two lives with this and Axon. Axon's an amazing place. Pumped to continue to work there and do that and see where it goes. But yeah.
Did you eat the Thai food? Because you just said I bought some Thai food, which I thought was
Yeah,
kind of
man,
a
I eat
strange
everything
way.
in sight. So if you don't know me, if something's edible, I'll probably mash it
Imagine
down.
you get home, you're like, hey babe, I bought some Italian food. She's like, do you want to eat it or?
No. If you don't, know, I don't have a family of my own, so it's always for my brother's kids and whatnot. So we bought $250 worth of Thai food last night after, because we did a drive from Maine home. I was in this lovely little place in Maine, found this course, just so relaxed. Got back at 1 a.m. Actually thought we were going to run out of gas. There's a DUI stop. So traffic built up miles, dude. We were like on empty. Nightmare, like literally had no gas, went into the gas station. We had 0.08 like gallons left in the tank, like when we filled it up. So last night was just a Thai food mess. And we literally had like $250 worth and I ate all of it. So anyways, that's
Have you ever run out of gas before? I was
yeah, a couple times.
Couple times.
Yeah.
This was back in high school, dude, where you were like, yeah, I'll put $5 in the tank.
Yeah.
You know, like, yeah, 10 today. And you're feeling
like 1
rips.
gallon.
Right. No, but like that's all you could do. And you'd be like, all right, I'm driving around.
You'll be fine.
And I remember one time, dude, I had to get out of my red Jeep, walk home, get a red gallon tank, you know, go to the gas station. T, you did the same?
Well, my car when I was in high school was a 1985 Chevy Caprice. It was really old. It was my grandma's car that she gave to me. I loved it. But the is it just the gas gauge? Is that what you call it?
Yeah.
So there was a special name for it. That broke. So I never knew how much gas I
Oh,
had.
man.
I only knew when I filled it all the way up. I'd be like, all right, I got a full tank now. The rest of the way it was just guessing. So I was infamous for just running out of gas and being on the side of the road waiting for someone to bring me some.
Okay, I actually have a question for you because I've debated this in my head. Could you feel when the car was low on gas? Because sometimes when I'm driving and I have like very, very little gas, I'm like, damn it. And then you fill it up and you're like, oh, she's ready to go now. Like when I just touch the gas pedal, is that just in my head or is that a real thing?
No, I think it's real. I think when you are low on gas, the engine starts to act a little different. It's not at full go. It's like, we gotta conserve here because this moron's gas gauge is broken and he's on the highway. He's just driving along, listening to G Unit and he thinks things are all good. No, they are not. He's about to run out of gas. So I think there is a difference.
I always fear too, like if you're going up and down a hill, like how that affects, because the gas tank, like it's got to fall out of like the central part. So if you only have like a little bit, that's what I was getting worried about. I was like, if we have to go a little incline, then the gas is in the back of the tank. It's not falling like through like the center, like drop zone or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. But when you run out of gas, if you've never done it, Danny, it's just no power. Just stand on the accelerator and nothing happens.
I have a question about gas and electric cars and all this stuff. I had an electric car in California when I went to Pebble with my dad. And we were like, if we don't get a charge today and we go to the Big Sur and we drive to Pebble and we run out of electricity, we're done, right? Like, what's the option there? Like, if you get down to zero, like no one can bring you like electricity in a can they? Like, unless they have mobile electric things to charge you up. If you just run out of electricity on the road with an electric car, like what happens?
They gotta have a battery.
There's gotta be a big battery pack. Yeah,
I guess so. I guess someone comes with a battery pack, like it's like a mobile phone charger. But then the second thing I was thinking about was, you know, wind turbines and like the way we can get electricity and like things will roll and like turbines will move and like electricity will build. Why can't they build an electric car where
self-sustaining,
as the wheels turn, the car generates electricity?
You know what? They probably just haven't thought of it yet.
That's impossible, Danny. That's impossible.
What I would do is I would just.
I mean, that's all they do is think about this shit.
Just hit up your contacts at Tesla. Tell them they'll be like, "Fuck, that's a good idea," and then they'll just do it.
So now I think I brought this up at dinner the other day, and that's all we talked about. And I think there's like a hybrid car that does that. Like as you're sitting at a red light, all the movement actually charged up, like the backup battery. Like there's some of these hybrid cars. Like I think like the Prius is a hybrid. It's got an engine in it, but it also uses whatever.
Like the wind, what about the wind while you're driving?
It goes through.
Yeah, because think about it, you just put your hand outside the window, it's incredibly windy because you're driving so fast.
That's enough wind to power a motor vehicle.
That's what I'm saying. So can't you capture that somehow?
I think wind turbines don't do anything for electricity, really? Honestly. I think wind turbines do so very little.
It seems like a miss thing because they got these giant farms of them all over the place.
I mean, they provide energy, but it's just minimal. It's just real minimal, I think, in like the output that it gives you. especially like one. Now, when you have like, a farm of them, if you've ever seen those things, like when you're up in like northern Maine, you
wild.
get on a mountain and there's just a farm of wind turbine.
They're
It is
gigantic,
insane.
dude.
This is why I joined foreplay. So we have conversations like
The
this.
Tour Championship happened yesterday. We've yet to say a
We're
single
talking
thing
about turbines.
All right, we should talk about the Tour Championship. Rory McIlroy, what a fucking year. Of course, it came down to him and Scotty. Lurch's guy, Sungjae M, threw himself into the mix. I love him a lot, too, now because the Wyndham Championship, he's like their hero. All the behind-the-scenes people just are obsessed with him, so I'm a big fan as well. So we're essentially in a spot now, like Lurch described as well, where Rory is the prince. He has been the prince. He's been the face of the PGA Tour. He has stepped up and grabbed that role and done a great job with it. I think he is the star that you would try to paint him if this were a fictional story about how crazy this year has been. He would be someone that I don't even know you could make up how great he is. Family guy. He always says the right things. He's authentic, but never comes off like a dickhead. Everybody behind the scenes has nothing but positive things to say about him, including us when we had our one interaction with him last year when we filmed our video with TaylorMade for like an hour. He was even better than advertised, and he had been advertised as positively as you could possibly have it. And now here he is winning the Tour's Super Bowl. He made the Super Bowl joke afterwards, which tied a bunch of stuff together from the Liv, lawsuit courtroom moment where the Liv guy himself called this the Super Bowl of golf. And he came in and said, I'm a Super Bowl champ and the whole deal. So point is, Rory guts it out. Kind of a weird finish with the guys hitting some sloppy shots. But Rory, what was it on whatever hole, the incredibly long 16th hole, par 3 over the water where nobody hit it in the water, which was insane all weekend long. Cans like a 40-footer, holds on to win by a stroke, and obviously the Tour and everybody's going nuts. They're as happy as they can be. Trent, I saw you tweeted out the South Park gif of just cum all over the place, which made me laugh out loud. But anyways, Rory McIlroy wins the Tour Championship. Came down to him and Scotty, which makes sense because Scotty's probably going to be Player of the Year. A dream finish by all accounts.
I genuinely think that's how Jay Monahan had to feel right after. Like, I know it was a joke. There's a guy covered in cum, but I think Jay Monahan had to be somewhat feeling that way because of all the reasons that you just listed. It couldn't have gone better. Rory's the guy you want winning that. And it was a good duel between the two of them, Scotty and Rory. Scotty didn't play great. Rory didn't play great at times, but it was great to see two guys who have had great years come down to the finish. Like, every bit of it felt a little bit like a storybook. So for that to happen, for Rory to win, I saw him apologizing to Scotty's family and hugging Scotty's family. Like, Rory is that guy. He just is. Like, you can't have a better guy in a better position at this point where the world of golf is going, how the landscape is shifting. Like, every part of it, Rory is stepping up to it, and you couldn't write it any better.
Yeah, I mean, just to add to the chorus of just absolute Rory adulation, it's 100% authentic. Like, I'm sure it's the same with you guys when people ask you all the time, like, who are the best guys out there? Who's the nicest guys out there? For me, I mean, Rory's like, he's one of the only guys, when you're talking to one of these pros and you can tell that they feel like they're doing a favor to you by talking to you, right? They'll talk to you, but they'll just answer your questions. They'll ask, how's New York? Like, how are the COVID restrictions in New York? How's your fiance doing? Like, I remember she's a lawyer. How is she? He's just one of those guys who seems like just a normal person with a superpower. And I think that's what makes him so appealing to people is like what you mentioned, Trent, about him going up to Scotty's parents. He had this sheepish grin on his face. Like, he felt bad about beating Scotty because Scotty had this incredible year. Like, if Tiger Woods won there, he wouldn't be thinking 1 second about Scotty. Be like, sorry, that's just what I do. Rory is a normal guy. He's the most normal guy maybe out there who just has this superpower of being able to hit a golf ball so incredibly beautifully. And yeah, Jay Monahan was pumped. The trophy ceremony afterwards, he was buzzing because you could tell like the other times that he's had to speak publicly was like to answer questions about Liv and to tell people about where all this money came from. And he just knows he's going to get hammered. Yesterday, no questions. Big J just up there with the microphone, standing next to Rory, his boy, being like, what a great day for our sponsors. We're so excited about the future. Yeah, a great day for the PGA Tour yesterday. And one thing I wanted to add, I had this written down, was like how much variance there was yesterday with the last three guys. So Sungjae Im hits his ball in the rough and just completely misjudges the lie. just completely misjudges the lie. Didn't get under it. He caught a little bit of the ball, came out hot, rolls over the green, ruins his chances. Scottie Scheffler, there's no sand in the bunker, right? He turns to Ted right after hitting that shot and goes, no sand. Rory, the shot Rory hit, the second shot he hit into 18, that's in the parking lot, right? If there's no grandstand there, that's
I hate that rule.
Out of your pocket.
Well, he gets to drop it and then he couldn't drop it, so he
only hates it because it happened to him in a match against somebody.
He dropped it. Remember, he dropped it. If you watch the video, he dropped it. It sinks right to the bottom. He just grabs it right away and puts it right back on top. Not saying that he didn't follow the rules, but you got $18 million at stake, and golf is just so beautifully chaotic, right? So much weird shit happened in that last couple holes where it's just like there's no way to possibly account for this. It's just randomness. It's one of the reasons why this is the greatest game there is.
How funny was it that they kept flashing the money graphic? They flashed the money graphic like 50 times, and I'm pretty sure the PGA Tour and Jay were like, let's just flash that that thing up there so we can let people know that we're giving guys a lot of money too. Like it was 18 million, 6.5 million. Every time they got a chance, they brought it up. But it was a wild finish for Rory.
It reminded me a lot, as you were just saying, Danny, of the Zalatoris playoff, where it was the same way. It was like they would both play a hole phenomenally, and it's like they both could have made birdie, and then they do that for 2 holes, and then the next hole, it was like double's going to win the tournament. It's like like
the ball finishes in the one little spot where it couldn't finish.
And it's honestly, it's not to shit on Liv, but it's like kind of why you need 72 holes. It's like you need to combat that variance and really determine who's the best player throughout the week. And this is what a lot of Tiger's point was when his brain was broken at the concept of playing 54 holes. He was like, I can't imagine considering that a golf tournament. And because he understands, he's played the long con. He has been considered, as amazing as people like to describe his power and how violent he swings and how far he hits it, as him and Jack, like the most conservative players of all time, because right, they play the long game. They understand that over 72 holes, if I outthink and I am more skilled and I have worked harder than you, I will defeat you by at least a stroke after 72 long holes of bad lucks, bad breaks, good breaks, all kinds of shit. And then when it all comes down to like a couple holes and people finally turn on the TV to watch a couple holes, you watch it and you're like, holy shit, like look at what's going on. The whole tournament came down to just Rory made like a 43-footer that usually doesn't go in. Like you could argue that, but also you could argue
did a violent hook from the middle of the fairway that hit the grandstand and he gets to place it for $18 million. That thing was in the parking lot.
So it is amazing. But again, if you went back and you looked at the whole deal, the 72 holes, the fact that he came back from a triple bogey on the first hole the entire tournament, his first drive OB, and then started 6 shots back, was 10 shots back after a few holes into the tournament, was 6 shots back, teeing off in the final round, and wins the tournament against the best player throughout the entire year. It was great. It was I enjoyed on Golf Central, I guess it was last night, with Brandel and Rolfing, where they were talking about some of the different battles throughout the year. And, it's like, oh, Rory edged out Scottie here, but Scottie edged him out at Augusta. And you like almost forget that Rory holds this bunker shot and Scottie, barely kind of hangs on to beat him at Augusta. And it's like the same characters were kind of there throughout the year. And even Cam Smith, when it like him obviously he wins the Open, but there's the moment at Augusta, like he was in the mix and Scottie chips in on whatever that was, the third hole, when it felt like the momentum was all going the same way. And it's like you have Smith and Scottie and Rory, and it's kind of the main characters throughout the entire season that emerged. And I almost forgot that, like, oh yeah, I remember this guy won that, but I had forgotten that they were the 2 or 3 guys battling it out throughout the whole fucking year.
Right. And last year, I was thinking about last year's tour championship. It was Rahm and Cantlay, 2 different guys. Right. It just goes to show there's not one alpha dog. There is for like a little bit, but no one's been able to like distance themselves. And it could be 2 different guys next year. Next year could be the year of, Xander Schauffele and Victor Hovland. It's just, we just don't know what's going to happen. One more thing is, Tom Kim, right? Remember he won a couple weeks ago, making a triple on the first hole. Rory just really couldn't let him have that. Huh? He couldn't let him have the whole triple the first hole and win the golf tournament thing. Rory I'm just gonna take that from you right now, because now it's a Rory. But that's what you're saying about 72 holes. There's time to overcome those things.
Right. And
I was thinking about that. If I was a better gambler, like just seeing that and seeing that Rory did it in the championship, it's like, I wish I had thrown some late money on Rory as soon as he hit that first drive OB, just because like he is that skilled. He is that good. and if there's that potential there. But obviously I didn't, because I lose every bet I place and just another loser for me. But yeah, it's insane. Like I looking at his round over round after that, it's just, he's just phenomenal. And yeah, he gets lucky with the grandstand. I would be interested if any player has ever taken that into account as part of their strategy if they're in a horrible spot.
Yes,
being like,
I'll tell you 100% yes.
That, yeah, that
it's long and it's left. So if like you're
right.
if you're in the
I
right
know.
rough, if you're in the right rough
Fine.
and you're like, okay, I can't get this on the green, right? There's no way I'm gonna hit it high enough and land it soft enough. But if I just bomb it down there anywhere, I'm gonna get a free drop. It's 100% strategy for a lot of guys.
I've done that in my own game. We play at Rockville Links. I think it's the 8th hole. Everything on the left side is a free drop because it's the maintenance yard. So when I step up to that hole, I just grip it and rip it as hard as I possibly can, because it's a par 5, it's gettable in 2. And if I push it left, which is my miss when I swing as hard as I can, I just get a free drop and I'm still looking at the green in 3. It's a par 5, no problem.
Of course, he loves this rule in that situation. Just loves it.
Yeah, I do love that rule. It's fucking amazing. But when on a professional level, when they get the drop and he put the tee down and he fluffed that thing up, come on, boys. I mean, the announcers are like, this is the hardest spot in the golf course. You do not want to be here. It's sitting down. It's right there by the wall. How's he going to get this thing up? And 2 seconds later, you look, and this thing's on a tee. It's like, obviously, he's getting that on the green.
Is it 14 at Austin Country Club? Is it 14 at Austin Country Club? That's the par 4 that they can drive it over the water and they all just hit it in the grandstand on purpose over the green because you can't stop it on the green.
It happens all the time. Remember there was that women's event a couple of years ago where it was the 18th hole of a major and they had like the great blue wall. And it was like this, it was like water behind the green and they had this massive wall right in front of the water, which was like, just get it over the green and you're chipping back uphill. But again, like, you know, if you bring this up, if you tweet something like this, then you'll have people being like, this is how they pay these guys these monies, the sponsors, and they want to sit there on 18. And like, we get it. We totally get it. I still maintain that ball was going in the fucking parking lot.
It is insane. Like they can't hollow out the bottom or something like that. So at least, you know, it could flow under the grandstand because they're all elevated, you know, 10, 12 feet. So like if they did and put the drop zone in a brutal spot.
They do that at the British Open. They have the drop zone like on down slopes in like knee-high rough. And it's like, all right, you're going to hit in the grandstand, you're going to drop it here. The PGA Tour, not so much. You can kind of
because like, you know, like with all the rules of golf, like in the spirit of the game, you feel like if that was like deemed a penalty, that was the choice that they made to play off like a man-made structure. There's just like a penalty for that. It's pretty shocking that like there honestly isn't. You know, if it was deemed, oh, you pulled like a 5-iron and it took a full swing because you thought you wanted to smack it in the grandstand to use the chip to have like all the room on the green because it's a better spot to get up and down from. It is interesting. So shout out to the British Open for being a little forward thinking on that, because I actually think that's a way better play to make it harder on the players if that is the strategy.
Maybe virtual 100%. Reality going forward, they should have like a hologram grandstand and the ball just fucking rips right through. Yeah. I thought that was
right. Based on the full swing simulator, we deemed that you were 70 yards over the green there, so you're actually going to drop.
There's a drop zone over there. Yeah, we'll put you in that.
It was also kind of a cool dynamic yesterday because of the format. Scotty was not playing well, right? Like if it was a normal tournament, he would have been like middle of the pack. I think he might have finished like 12th or something out of 30. So you had this unique dynamic of you have two guys who are tied for the lead. One of them is playing great, right? Rory is absolutely dialed in, right? He's chasing. Scotty was battling out there. And so you got to see, a lot of times you watch TV and you get a really skewed perspective of just how good these guys are because you're only seeing the best players who are playing their best, right? If this was a normal tournament, you wouldn't have seen very many of Scotty's shots yesterday because he would have been like T10 and you just would have seen at the end of the day, like, oh, Scotty kind of played like shit today and he lost himself a bunch of money. But to see it up front, like he just had no control of his golf ball yesterday. And it was interesting to watch.
It's why PGA Tour Live's great. Like, because you embrace, you get to witness the entire round. We've talked about it a few times, but it's like, you're right. When you tune in, they only aggregate the best stuff, really. Like, they're not going to cut to somebody who's T13 and hits another wipey one to the right and they're like clinging on trying to shoot 74. They only show the people that are playing the best, and those guys are making birdies and hitting every fucking fairway for the most part until they get to the late part of the tournament. Guys get nervous and start hitting shitty shots, and it's like, as a viewer, you're like, whoa, he's super nervous, hitting awful shots. But it's like, yes, that's a part of it, but also guys are hitting awful shots all over the golf course all fucking day. You just never see it. PGA Tour Live's phenomenal because you just from start to finish, you witness every single shot. You see the ups and the downs. You see how much momentum, right? Like we talk about momentum in hockey or football all the time, but like golf, when you get through a full round of golf, you can see how a guy's hot for 6 or 7 holes. He's hitting everything. If it's a right pin, he's hitting it 10 feet left of the pin. If it's a hole that calls for they're just hitting all these shots. And then there's moments where they're just struggling. And when you watch like a Rory on PGA Tour Live, a lot of times you'll see during that struggle stretch, like 6 or 7 holes where it's like, he's hitting it terrible and he's 1 under. And it's like these guys can gut it out. And you're right. That was like they had no choice but to show Scotty because clearly he's in contention and he was struggling and you almost feel for him a little bit.
It made me laugh at the end where he had a $715,000 putt, they were saying, to save all that money. It's like, dude, he just lost $12 million on a bunker shot. You think he was thinking about that there? And I know Scotty says he wasn't thinking about the money. He's thinking about the season-long championship. But man, at some point when he rests his head on that pillow, the thoughts creep in a little bit. I know all the money in the world doesn't make you happy, but $12 million bunker shot, you blade that thing over the green, that's going to sit with you for at least a week, at least one week.
There's just not that many scenarios that a human being can find themselves in where they can lose $12 million.
I know.
It just doesn't come across all that often. And I agree. He said he wasn't thinking about the money, but at some point he's going to be like, I had a chance to make $12 million more and I just couldn't get it done.
I do agree with, I think that he does. He's one of the, like, he's not weird, but he's definitely strange in the fact that I don't think money affects Scotty Scheffler at all. When he won the Masters, he was just playing like Roomy Cube or something with his wife. Like,
well, when you're 23 and you already have that much, or 25, but like, he came up so quickly, right? Like he never had to worry about money. He never had to think about money.
That's
different.
True.
It's different for someone who's like right to the top.
That's very true. That's very true. And I do feel bad for Scotty. And then I want to pose this question. Do you think he lost that money? He obviously does, right? It's hard to say that as opposed to Rory won.
I think so. Because
are we calling it a choke job?
When you tee off
didn't play well
six
at all.
shot, he's 6 shots ahead of Rory and loses to him in the final round. Like, yeah, I think he knows if he would have played decently yesterday, he would have won by a couple shots.
I mean, I think he shot like 5 under, 4 under, 4 under, 3 over. So it wasn't exactly like, but yeah, no, it's, I don't think they're thinking about money. I really don't, because we would, but that's why we're podcasters and they're like, all you think about is trying to play the best golf you can play and let all that take care of itself. And I know it's such a cliche, but just think about how paralyzing it would be to be thinking about money out there. You just can't. You just tap into that competitiveness of like, I'm going to shoot the absolute best score because I know this tournament's important. Before the week, you see the person, it's important. You don't have to then go through each little point about how much money it's worth. You just know this is really fucking important and I'm going to play my absolute best and grind throughout, because some weeks, T4 versus T5, not a big difference. This week, it is a huge difference.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I think that's right. I think it's ironic in that the guys that really think about the money are the guys that don't have any, that are like on the, that are fighting.
Did you see what Rory said yesterday?
Or something.
Did you see what Rory said yesterday?
About that?
They asked him, why are you such a dangerous chaser, right, when you're behind? And he said, because out of everyone in the field, I care about money the least. That's some alpha shit right there.
It would be interesting to tie clutch behavior to dollars already in that person's bank account. Like in golf, like, do you see a guy that's like bubbling up that has a chance to make a ton of money fail faster and fail more often because they have, I would love to know that statistic of like more clutch players are just richer, more successful people because it just,
it's got to be a chart. I think, more money acquired, more wins,
more
like,
problems.
Right.
No, I know. I
mean, more
totally.
Safety net.
I actually think it's more success in those moments, like what Lurch is saying. I think the more money you have and the more that you're secured and experienced, I think the more that you're able to like hold on to those leads or find a way to catch people ahead of you.
In the other end of the spectrum where there's no money involved, it's still like, I was talking, Stuart Hagestad, who you guys know, mid-am, he was talking about when he was making his run at the US Amateur playing against all these college kids. He's like, I've been in these USGA events before. I know what it feels like. I know what it's like to be coming down the stretch of a match, 1 down with 3 holes to go. It's just experience, just having done it before, I think.
Yeah, and it's funny when you talk to the guys that have a ton of majors too. I feel like they have some great quotes when they're chasing or when they're going into the final round of like, well, I'm looking at the leaderboard and like, it was Koepka, I think, who said this at Harding Park, and he ended up foot in his mouth, but it was like, no, I'm looking at the guys ahead of me. Like DJ's got 1 major, the other guys have none. Like I like my chances because if you've been there before, Tiger's talked about that a lot of like, these guys are going to be feeling feelings they've never felt before coming down the stretch. I've been here. I've got, 7 majors or whatever it was at the time in the bank, and like they've got 0. So yeah, I'm playing in that like metaphorically with house money, but also with house money. Like the money doesn't matter because I got a bunch of it. The majors doesn't really matter as much to me because I've got a bunch of them. This matters to you, buddy, because you've never won a major. You don't have hundreds of millions of dollars. I've got all that shit. So all I'm going to do is hit golf shots, and you got to worry not just about the golf shots, but like your whole career is at stake here. You better fucking figure it out. Like that's a huge dynamic in a game that is so mental.
It's like anything else though. Like, Lurch, I'm sure your first like big sales pitch to someone, you're probably shitting your pants. And then now it's like riding a bike. I'm sure for me, I'm going to be really, really nervous the first round we all play together on camera because it's a new thing. And then eventually it becomes routine. It's just, just doing it.
Yeah, people are risk adverse in nature. And yeah, anytime you do something twice, it's way easier.
Yeah.
Because I remember I think the first big tee shot we all hit almost was like at Bethpage. I remember that was like, whoa, we showed up and there was people there and we were like, dude, there's a couple videos of our swings on the internet, but there's not a ton. And there's certainly not many like in the real light of day.
Frankie hit on a grandstand there too, for fuck's sake.
Right, but like Trent bent over
made a
and was
Fore,
like
though, if
barely
you remember
breathing.
correctly.
I thought I was gonna pass out. I think I remember telling somebody I would pay $5,000 to just go drop my ball in the middle of the fairway because I just didn't want to do it. And then I hit one of the best drives of my life, and it just got way easier. It got way easier after that. I think you're absolutely right.
And then now the internet knows that is what I shoot what I shoot. Like it's about that, and so it takes all the stress out of it. So Danny, you can claim your handicap, you're about maybe a little bit better than scratch. So that's kind of big news. So I would say anything less than 330 down the gut is gonna say that you're not better than a 20 handicap. So
I have a pressure tee shot, which is just right rough all day, a little fan spin job. That will be the first tee shot I hit him.
No, don't go for that. Go for an absolute pipe draw, and if you miss it, who gives a shit?
I might go 4-iron off the first, just for nerve's sake. Just literally just get it down there.
Well, filming videos on golf courses, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. It's the golf capital of the world, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. I got more than 70 courses, sandy white beaches, endless off-the-course entertainment options. Myrtle Beach features the Myrtle Beach Golf Trail, where you can choose from 20 different award-winning courses. Some of the courses on the Myrtle Beach Golf Trail include the Gary Player-designed Blackmore Golf Club and River's Edge, named among Golf Digest top 100 courses. You can book your golf package on the Myrtle Beach Golf Trail at myrtlebeachgolf.com. Package includes free replays, lodging, and free breakfast starting at just $290 per golfer for 3 rounds and 3 nights. What an excellent deal. Lodging options include oceanfront villas, golf villas, and condos. So visit myrtlebeachgolf.com to shop golf packages for the popular fall golf season in Myrtle Beach. That's going to be a fantastic time. Are we going to have football on by that point? Are we going to have like a Monday and Thursday night football?
Dude, we're traveling so much, I don't even know when the fuck we're going. Okay.
But that's
Thursday night.
On what, the 6th or something?
I think it's the 8th.
8th? Yeah, so we'll be in Myrtle, right?
I had a horrific fantasy draft, by the way. I know people don't like to talk about their fantasy teams, but it just got, when you have one, it just gets away from you. At the end of the day, you're like, I don't know anyone on my team. You're making picks, everyone's booing you. Like,
dude, when you get in the pockets where there's nobody you want, and then that's just the recipe where,
dude,
if you got 30 or 60 seconds, you're like, I'm just gonna pick somebody terrible.
My longtime college league that we've been doing for 8 years, we're going to an auction this year, and it's a fucking disaster. Disaster.
With me and my personality, I wouldn't be able to handle that. I'd be like,
trust me, I'm throwing an absolute fit in the group chat. I'm like, this will go down as the big draft day debacle of 2022. Yeah. That's a guarantee.
But I do think we'll be able to watch football in Myrtle Beach. I'm pretty sure.
That's so exciting.
I think so. Boys, I apologize, Danny. Welcome. This is the sales life. I'm off to my world at Axon. So enjoy the rest of the podcast, and I'll be in touch on this podcast every so often. So
go get him, Axon.
Hey, big man.
Enjoy.
Go get him, Axon.
How about Exxon? That's just free ads? They just get
and they're worth like $10 billion, so I think they're gonna be okay.
Well, then they should kick us some.
They do occasionally. Like in the dog days of like December or something, our boy Josh will like throw us a couple throw us a couple coins and be like, yeah, well, you can talk about Axon.
I wish Lurch was gonna stay on more because I think we all probably should have made a comment a little bit. Like Trent and I didn't get a chance to really talk to him about it, but like, I mean, we travel the world with Lurch. So at some point, like on a personal, like real life human level, it is like, it's sad. And it's always been sad to like see that he couldn't commit fully, which sucks. Like,
oh, I feel like a total and complete ass.
no, and you shouldn't at all, by the way. You shouldn't at all.
No.
It's like, it's a decision that Lurch put up a video and like, he's like, they made a decision, a business decision. And like, I'm just basically getting cut out and what all this stuff. Like at the end of the day, it's something that we've been dealing with for like 2 years where it's like, he just couldn't commit himself. And he said that as well. Like he has a full-time job. When we go on the Dad Bod Classic, all the people from Axon are there also. And they're like coming up to us being like, you guys got to tell Ben, like he's got to make a decision at some point. Like he can't have a full-time, like he has people that work under him here. Like they're seeing him go to like Scotland. And it is crazy. Lurch was living a double life. And like, that's not easy for anybody, him included. So hopefully this frees him up. And he made his decision years ago and that is what it is. And I love him. I love the guy.
His job must be pretty dope because
great job.
This job is pretty cool. Yeah, that's all I'm saying.
100%.
His other job, I'm sure his other job's pretty cool as well.
Look, he's got a great job. Axon is a phenomenal company, and Lurch was living a double life. I mean, he's traveling more. We've all been traveling a ton this year. I mean, he's taken like many more flights than I have this year, and it's like he's trying to do this job and trying to do that, and sort of this job has morphed from pretty fun, like kind of a side gig for all of us at the beginning to this is a full-time commitment. This is a large business that we have built here. And in order to be successful at it, you need to put your full-time professional commitment into it. And so we found somebody that, we think is going to not only do that, but be an enormous addition. We love that Lurch has been a part of our world here, right? Like that's kind of, Dave's done that really well, just created a world around Barstool Sports. I love Kirk Minahan's show. He creates like a world. Stern famous for that, creating a world. Lurch is a part of our world. He'll always be a huge part of our world. But professionally, his job clearly has been mostly committed to Axon. It makes sense. He's got an awesome job. And he's going to join when he can. He's going to continue to be a part of our world. How much that is, who knows? That's really going to be largely up to him and how much he wants to be a part of it. But yeah, we love Lurch, especially on a personal level. He's always been phenomenal. Lurch was my roommate in New York for 4 years. My roommate in Boston for like a year and a half before that. And in New York, my only roommate. I mean, he and I we lived in a 2-bedroom tiny spot. He's a very large person. I'm not a small person. We lived in a fucking shoebox in New York together. So he and I on a personal level are incredibly close. Lurch is literally one of my best friends in the world. And having him be a part of kind of our golf brand that we've built has been awesome. And like I said, I imagine he'll always be a part of our world to some degree. I'm glad that he's happy for Danny joining because I think we all are. And I know from all the text messages that Danny sends how jacked up you are with all of your ideas.
They're only just getting started. They're only just getting started.
You have to make the move. We're so big. We're such a big golf brand that you need someone that's committed. Danny is you just need someone. If we were actually sitting down, it's like friends aside, roommates aside, all that stuff. And Lurch is such a smart businessman in his other world, his other life. Like he understands at some level, like this is what you have to do. We have to move forward. We have to take this thing by the fucking horns and just go. Like we got to just go 100 miles an hour. There can never be a foot off the gas. And like with him, he had to take his foot off the gas a lot, like a ton. Like all listeners know, he never on the show, all this stuff. So like it sucks for him. It sucks for us. Danny, I love you already. I think you're going to be amazing. And I don't know if Trent had anything to say. No, I think I might cut him off before.
Trent, now's your time to just gas me out. Here we go. I'm listening.
No, I was just going to echo what those guys are saying. I mean, Lurch he was working 2 jobs. You are taking away from each one when you're committing to the other one. And like Frankie just said, this thing has gotten big and it has gotten to the point where it takes over our lives. Like I try to sometimes put myself in his position and I can't imagine having to try to commit to 2 jobs that need large commitments. Like
Rick, so this other job that he has, this is like a real job. Huh?
Dude, he travels all over the country all the time. So it's just
multiple people working under him. He
has people who work for him.
Oh yeah, the whole team.
How do those people feel when they see him playing golf on a
not
Tuesday?
Good. I don't think
they're not good. So then, like, sometimes sometimes we had to like hide of like the fact that he was there. Like he's like, can we not put up social today as this will be like an issue for me? I'm supposed to be in a meeting. It's like, dude, that's not good for your other job. Like, shouldn't you be doing that? So it's like, dude, what are we actually doing? Like, this is not just some project. Like some dudes live in a cul-de-sac in a town and they started a podcast, like the Long Island Golf, whatever podcast. This is fucking Foreplay Barstool Sports production. We've got 5 guys on our team. We have full-time jobs. We've got benefits. Like this is a fucking big deal. Like let's actually try and get like, can we take this thing seriously?
And I would say that we spend a lot of our time trying to think of new things. Danny, I know that you've got a ton of new ideas that they're gonna bring to us and try to bring to fruition. Like having the Lurch life is, yeah, you come on the podcast and you say your takes and you're in the videos and they're all great, but then all the other times he's got to be thinking about Axon and like, where are we going to take this job and how are we going to do this better? Where the position that we're in, once we get done recording and doing videos, we think about like, all right, now how do we grow the brand even bigger every single day? So it's that push and pull in 2 directions when you have 2 jobs is just tough on both places.
A classic that we're talking about once he left, but like he left. I wanted to do this before, but then we hopped right into the tour fucking championship. I thought he'd stay on for the show, but he has to go to do his other job. So I'm gonna love Lurch. I'll always love Lurch. I think he could still very much be involved in the brand however much he wants, just like he's always been doing. Whenever he can make it, he can make it. And I hope the listeners can understand that's on some level like this was the 100% the right move to go.
Just think about how hype it'll be when he does join now. It'll be a little extra buzz, right? Like I'm sure like Masters Monday, he'll be there. You know what I mean? Like the big shows, he'll be there. He'll find a way.
And this show is already, if you're into golf and you're listening to this for any sort of golf takes, like this show has been a billion times better today. That's probably a negative on me, on Trent, on like we on me. Danny's just a billion times better talking golf.
I'm really glad you made the
today's
point.
Been so great.
I'm glad you made the point too, Frankie, about complacency. And it's like we stretch ourselves pretty thin. We're covering a lot of different stuff from Breaking 90 to Barstool Classic to Fixing Frankie, Behind the Greens, and then other stuff at Barstool, right? We're Barstool employees through and through. The 3 of us, one thing that I think's made this show pretty special for a lot of
now. I'm also a Barstool employee.
I know, but what I'm going to say is not going to include you, and then I'm going to get to you, is that the 3 of us, like, I think people consider us pretty OG. Like, we started at Barstool when it was half of one fucking floor in New York. And it was people were doing a little bit of everything. And then kind of we, as part of that crew, like also started this little golf podcast. And so people have seen it from, it's not something that got acquired by Barstool. It's not something that got, that we had our own business and then Barstool was able to throw capital into it. Like, we were just guys that were Barstool guys that somehow built this golf brand. And so I think, now to see it where it is, like, we are treating it and we have to learn how to treat it like a fucking business. And I think there's going to be that mix always of like, yeah, it's a business, but also we're real and raw and authentic and we're buddies. And I think the reason that all of this kind of came together and that Danny's sitting there right now is because after we did the show at the US Open, I know that on our side, we all were like, well, that seemed really natural. What do we think about making that something that's a little bit more real? And then when I spoke to you, Danny, it was like, yep, I feel the same way.
It was funny. Brendan, who I don't think is on the call right now, but we were chatting outside. Like, remember there was that area where the guys were doing the interviews and we were kind of off to the right. And I was walking back and he's like, oh, like, I heard you're the 4th mic today. I was like, yeah. He's like, when are we going to make you the 4th mic permanently? He like said it kind of offhand. I was like, make me an offer. He was like, what? And it was like right when all this like live shit was going on. So I was like, hasn't this week taught you that every man has their price? Like, right. Make me an offer. But yeah, I mean, I think it's good because I'm coming from like the most buttoned up places you could possibly come from, right? As far as like, this is a business, like this isn't, you guys are all like best friends who made this incredible brand. You kind of stumbled into it. Whereas like, I'm coming from the other end of the spectrum where it was like, everything was like really thought out about how we do this. And I've come to you guys with ideas and I've come to some other Barstool people with ideas and they're like, oh my God, like this guy is the most organized person. I'm like, because I sent you an email that's like properly formatted, that makes me like the most organized, driven person in the world. Like the standards are pretty low here. I'm pretty stoked about this.
We will make fun of your emails if you make them too professional. So try and like
they're pretty professional. So I'm gonna have to try to loosen up a little bit.
In regards to and circle back and all that stuff.
Or we just won't read them basically. So that's like, those are kind of the 2 options. You get
our communication's a 0. I think if Lurch would be mad about anything in his tenure here at Foreplay, probably the communication, because with his with his schedule, like needing to like constantly let us know when he could do the podcast. We're like, dude, we're just gonna do the podcast when we can do it. So like that was a nightmare. So we're gonna get better at that. I promise to you, Danny. I will respond to you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
It's very fun for me too, because a lot of the conversations and a lot of my kind of like memories from being at majors, which is pretty much the only events that we go to, have been like walking inside the ropes. When once you're inside the ropes, there's really not a lot that you can do. You gather information that we will either talk about in the podcast, you will write about or tweet about, but for the most part, you're kind of there and observing. And so we have a lot of time to just kind of communicate and talk. And it's like, I've already in the first hour, it's really cool for me because those types of conversations where we just shoot the shit about golf and what we're seeing and what we're hearing is now just on the podcast, which I think, to Frankie's point originally, like, I'm excited for the listeners because it just makes the product that they're going to get that much better. And to the original kind of complacency point, we've been doing this fucking thing for 5.5 years. I think naturally you're going to get in a routine. There's going to be a certain element of tiredness to it. And it's like, we're injecting this fucking machine with fresh energy of someone who fucking loves golf. And that's really exciting for us.
Perfect timing for the 2 weeks when there's no golf.
Right. Just nailed it. Absolutely.
But I am going on my bachelor party this weekend in Vegas. Whoa. And I'm a little bit nervous after this announcement. I'm going to be all-time struggle bus in Myrtle Beach. I just want to warn you guys. I'm staying in Vegas Sunday night and then flying to Myrtle on Monday. So just pray for me.
Yeah, you're gonna
need some Bioltye is what you're gonna need.
You are gonna need some Bioltye.
I'm gonna have such a big built-in excuse for that first round. I'm gonna be like, oh god, my back is so sore. I was flying all day yesterday. Like my hands are still shaking. My ears are ringing from the day club. I mean, I just can't play.
Vegas, man, that is a fucking decision for a bachelor.
Well, I'm the first one of my friends to be getting married. I'm pretty young to be getting married, like psychotically young to be getting married. Love you, Emma.
How old are you?
How old do you think I am?
25.
Credit to me.
27.
Credit to me. I never asked that question during the process, which is
you didn't.
Yep, never asked. It's illegal.
Is that illegal?
It's illegal.
You don't. Yeah, Barstool told me they don't discriminate on age or being.
Well, no, we hired Robbie Fox when he was like 14.
So I was the first one, so I kind of crowdsourced it to the core group of guys. I was like, "What do you guys want to do?" They're like, "Don't reinvent the wheel. Like, let's go to fucking Vegas."
I agree. So, I think that's the right move when you're the first guy and it's still fresh. And
48
young for
hours,
everybody.
2 nights, in and out. Like,
yeah.
Let's just do it big.
Wow. I wonder if the pendulum is swinging a little bit because it went so far away from Vegas. It went to Nashville, Charleston, and Austin, and all these places where everybody's like, Vegas is kind of played out. It might be going back that way where it's like Vegas is still fucking Vegas.
Yeah, you just never sleep on Vegas.
We have to, now that Danny is a new Barstool employee, we have to give him the real Barstool handbook on like how to survive as a Barstool employee, aka how to deal with like the inner workings of. I mean, it's basically like Game of Thrones here, where you have to like know who to talk to and who.
I saw Dave when I walked in. I've come into the office a few times before. I've come into the office a few times before today, just to meet people and stuff, and saw Dave and was really started sweating.
Dude, I saw you got sniped in the background of a video. I didn't bring it up, but with the Rico Dave video, you're in the background talking to Hank and Bug, and when the camera pans over to Rico walking out, Danny's talking to Hank, and Danny just backs up.
Well, I was talking to Hank, who I was like kind of starstruck to meet because I'm like the biggest Pardon My Take groupie of all time. Have been since college. So I was like, whoa, this is strange. And then I see Dave and I'm like, Brendan, should we move? Should we get out of the way here?
So you learned. That's pretty much that.
Especially with my last name. I'm really looking forward to everything.
Rapaport's had a really bad run at Barstool, but
no relation.
He's already tweeted twice about you today. So
has he?
Yeah.
He first tweet about you was a compliment. He said, "I can already tell this guy's too good for us." So that's a good thing.
Holy shit, Danny!
We like that. That's a big one.
Danny!
I haven't looked at my phone at Twitter since we've been doing this. So that's big news.
That's huge.
No, but like it's funny about Barstool. Not funny, but it's true. It's just this is a place where kind of like you eat what you kill. Like if you're doing well. And it seems like you guys are obviously doing well. It seems like the Barstool golf ecosystem, like they don't really bother you guys because you guys know what you're doing and you guys are successful, and they only seem to step in when there's something worth addressing. Yeah, and to that point, Dave also, his other tweet was he tweeted out mine and his very elaborate conversation about the hire where I texted him and said, "Hey, hiring Danny Rapaport, no relation." Guy to join Foreplay and write a lot. He's great. We'll add an element we don't have, self-built. He's going to take the 4th chair and finally run with it. Do you want to chat with him at all or all good? He wrote, nope, period. So I think I might frame that I think I might frame that on my desk. Just print out the nope period.
We also do all of our meetings on the podcast. So like these conversations could have just been text messages, but we do them just on the pod.
Well, I've noticed that. I've tried to get some time with Riggs over the last 2 weeks, and it has not been easy.
No, it's not easy. We do
I'm
everything.
like, hey,
on the
why don't we meet and discuss this, massive idea that we have?
We
And
don't
he's
meet.
like,
We don't really meet.
yeah,
We do everything. Every listener should know everything we're doing, and that's what this is. They just know all our ideas, our paths, and that's it.
Yeah.
It is kind of funny. The last two important meetings that we've had have been at majors when we've gotten our wrists slapped, and Danny has been at both of them.
Oh my God, I forgot about that.
Oh
in
yeah.
Tulsa.
I forgot about that too.
I was having a nice little catch up with the boys. This was during the flirting stage. This is when I was kind of making myself out there.
Totally.
And it's the three of you guys and me sitting down and some PGA of America employee who, by all accounts, is a super nice guy. What's his name?
I can't remember which one. They sent somebody over that was new to us. It wasn't
The guy clearly had been thinking about the conversation all day. I mean, he was thinking about the conversation for hours. And so he walks right up to us, doesn't even look at me, just sits down and is like, all right, guys, you broke some rules. We need to discuss this. I felt bad for the guy because he was obviously scared shitless. And after like 12 minutes, you guys are having this really like testy conversation where you're like, well, what about if we do this? I feel like, and then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go this way. And he looked at me and he didn't realize what was going on. And then he was like absolutely horrified.
Yeah.
He was like, oh
This
God,
was-
I just had
this
this whole
was
conversation
after,
in front of these guys.
This was after the Tiger video in Tulsa.
That's right.
We
Yeah.
put that out, and that's like, we broke some rule about videoing on the course, and
All the rules.
this
I think
guy
we broke pretty
came
much
over
every
and was
rule.
like, hey, you guys broke a couple rules, and we were like, I don't know what to tell you because we put out a video of Tiger Woods, and there's nothing we're gonna do about that differently. So
Danny, what has the reaction been from PGA Tour people? Like, are you going to be now banned from going into the media center?
They're stoked. They're really stoked.
Amazing.
I mean, the way I've talked to it was like they were a little bit. Your guys' relationship with them, I think, has like been a little stop and start because when you guys came in, you guys were like very disruptive, right? Like they had this whole
True.
ecosystem of all these writers who've been going to these events and following the rules, and you guys didn't seem to be interested in rules.
True.
Which is
Again,
cool.
true.
It's cool kid stuff. It's why you guys are doing what you're doing. But I've been very much a rule follower for the last 2 or 3 years. So I've been at all these events. I know all these people. I called them and told them about a week ago or 2 weeks ago, and they were really, really excited because obviously the PGA Tour is in a bit of a tricky position right now, aren't they? Right?
Sure are.
They definitely are in the business of making friends as opposed to being mean to people. And so I think they realize your guys. Can I say our?
Yes.
They realize our audience, our following, and I think there's a lot of people, young people who work at the tour who you guys know who are really cool and really, really like Barstool. And there's probably another voice in the room that's a little bit hesitant. And I think having someone like me who's played the game and been on the inside for the last couple of years, I think they're probably more excited to do stuff with us now than they have been at any time in the
There's
recent
probably a
past.
guy being like, "Oh, thank fucking God, they're finally going to follow the rules." You know what I mean? Like Barstool's
More of the
finally gonna
rules.
follow the-
More of the rules.
Yeah, okay.
It's a miracle.
or at least have a voice in the room that knows the rules.
That's
Yes.
right. That's right.
Or I just make you guys aware, hey, you guys want to post this video? Great, that's cool. It's 100% against the rules. But I just want you guys to know that it's against the rules. I'll be the rule. I'll make you guys aware of the rules.
That's pretty
do you
much kind of
plan
been our
on
relationship
going-
with them anyways, to be honest with you, at this point. It's kind of been like, if we're going to post videos that are going to get millions of views, they're like, look, that's what the slap on the wrist. We're going to tell you that that's not allowed, but we're glad that you did it. That's pretty much what it's been.
So are we gonna have Danny Rapp like in the fucking media? Like, are you gonna be at events asking questions on behalf of Foreplay Podcast?
Definitely the big
That's
events.
insane.
Definitely the big events for sure. Like all the majors. Like I definitely, with all due respect, I don't want to leave on Wednesday to go to the gambling den. I definitely want to be there and writing and covering it.
Definitely.
But I do have to get married before I get divorced, so I gotta be somewhat selective with the travel. I don't think it'll be as much. Like I think last year I did 18 events from Monday to Monday. And that's the whole week, right? So like this was one of the things, and I don't want to kick them while they're, I don't want to be mean on the way out, but one of the things that bothered me sometimes is like sometimes I felt like I was at events just to be at an event. Like I would go to like the Travelers Championship, and on Friday I have to write a story about Harris English is just the last guy I talked to, so he's on my mind. It's no disrespect to Harris. Harris English shoots 69. Like I just didn't feel like I needed really to be there to document that. So I'm going to be more selective with what I cover and what I write, but I definitely will be there in the room 100%. Like Masters Tuesday, those press conferences, like Definitely, because that's how you make relationships. That's how you meet people. That's how you start talking to agents or trainers or players. It's just hard to do these things over text. So you got to be there. You got to be in the room.
Wow. That got me going.
Me too.
That's
I also
insane.
like we were talking a lot about the excitement level of like there's the possible angle of Danny covering us from like a journalistic standpoint. Right?
Yeah, right.
I'm gonna write like multiple 1,000-word articles that are summing up everyone's play on the trips and stuff. Like I will definitely be writing about like Trent Ryan aimed 30 yards left of the fairway, clearly afraid of the block slice that he's, we're definitely getting into like narrating all your rounds.
How rattled is Matty Fitz going to be? Because like we've always had to do a 4-man scramble against him, and now if we do one, if you're just inserted into that team, like he's gonna got so much better, and now we're just gonna crush him.
I don't know. Matty Fitz is big time now. If you're watching this, Matty Fitz, maybe you should save some time for the little people. Ever since you won this major, no, I'm kidding. Actually, I'm kind of not kidding. There's obviously a little bit of truth to every joke.
Come on, Matty.
He's very busy. He's a very busy guy these days. He's top 10 player in the world. It's a new level for him. But something tells me that we'll be able to get him on. Something tells me.
Love it.
It's fucking awesome. He won the U.S. Open. Like holy shit.
And also we didn't even talk about that. That was like the best week of my life, dude. Like
you got roasted for that too, which is craziness.
Well, my brother texted me the morning after and was like, when the podcast came out, he was like, that was an audition. I was like, no, it fucking wasn't. Like, relax, Will. He's like, that was an audition. You're going to Barstool. I was like, just slow down. Then Fitz wins it. We're freaking on the 18th green. Oh my God. I felt like you guys, all the other journalists were so mad.
Yeah.
So mad. I was like, if my job asked me to not be happy when one of my 5 best friends in the world completes his lifelong dream and I'm there watching, then I need a new job. But the Barstool thing happened. Matty Fitz wins the US Open. I mean, that was the greatest week of my life, maybe.
It was a great week. Another great week or weekend is going to be your bachelor party. When you get back from the bachelor party, like Frankie mentioned, you're going to need Bioltye. So we'll get you a full shipment, a full supply of Bioltye. I got a ton in my fridge. I had a couple yesterday. When you are on the course, crushing drives, crushing beers, whatever you're doing, having a great time, last thing you're thinking about is hydration. The next day, that's all you're going to be thinking about. Shout out to my friend Mike, who always says every golf trip we do, he always puts Bioltye in my cart and says, whoever drinks the most Bioltye this weekend is going to win this golf tournament. And he's right every single time. He mixes one in between every single beer that we have, every Truly, every cocktail, whatever you're drinking. You need Bioltye. It's IV in a bottle. It's a physician-formulated recovery drink made with all natural ingredients that will help you feel better fast. Here's the trick. Instead of downing sports drink after sports drink, just drink a single bottle of Bioltye. Let me tell you, it'll work like a charm. It's IV in a bottle, contains the same amount of electrolytes as an IV bag. You'd have to drink 6.5 sports drinks just to equal one Bioltye. 6.5, that's a lot. You just need one Bioltye. Now available to purchase directly on their website. Go to drinkbiolite.com/barstool. Use the code FOREPLAY, that's one word, for 10% off your first order. Drinkbiolite.com/barstool. Use code FOREPLAY for 10% off your first order. A couple stats that I'd like to give you. Shout out to Mike Essie from TaylorMade, who sent us, I don't think he sleeps, I don't think he ever stops working. Mike Essie sent us a great breakdown of the stats from Rory Mcilroy. The TaylorMade Stealth Plus that he's using, he led in driving distance every single round. He obviously led for the week. Round 1, his driving average was 331 yards. Round 2, his driving average was 329.8 yards. Round 3, 339.8 yards. And round 4, 333.2 yards. Imagine being able to play a round of golf where you pretty much hit it dead straight and you hit it 330 yards on average.
And the other thing about that is, and this is actually something that I've talked to Matt about, Matty Fitz, is like, there's such a mental edge when you're out driving the guy you're playing with. Like, this is what he was talking about after the US Open. He was playing with Dustin Johnson for the first 2 rounds, and we're talking, and he's like, it's obviously great having like an 8-iron in when I used to have a 6-iron, but it's more just like I look back and Dustin Johnson is behind me. And that feels nice, And so yesterday, I think you tweeted this or someone tweeted, like, it must be legitimately hard for Scotty to watch Rory on the tee. He had the honor all day, just pumping 340 down the middle and then having to play first the whole day. I mean, don't underestimate the mental, boom that comes without driving the guy next to you all day long.
They put up that graphic yesterday. It was like the 3 longest drivers of the tournament. I don't know if that was what the context was, but it was Rory, Scotty, and Matty. Those were the 3, which is, I'm still getting used to him being on those lists. Like, he's obviously done all the work and it's paying off big time, but Yeah, being able to drive at 335 every single time just makes golf easier, I would
It
imagine.
reminds me of the Steve Williams story that he tells from the early 2000s in one of the Masters when Phil was still trying to break through, and it was Tiger and Phil in the final group, 13th hole, and Tiger steps up, or Phil, I think, had the honor. Phil steps up, hits as good of a drive as he can hit out there with his driver. Tiger takes his 3-wood and just draws one out there like 20 yards past Phil's driver, and I guess Phil turns to Tiger and says, like, does your 3-wood always go that far? He goes, no, usually it goes farther. And he's like, Stevie Williams talks about it like Phil knew in that moment for the next couple years he wasn't going to be able to beat Tiger in a major. And it was like that mental edge. You're right. Just like as a man, as a person to person, it's like, this thing that we're doing here where we're all trying to hit the ball really far,
I can't do that.
I'm hitting it farther than you. That's rattling. That's just got to be rattling. But yeah, Rory and his stats were pretty outrageous. And you're right, the mental edge of just being able to hit one pretty damn straight and that far over and over and over again. And when he's in that groove with the driver and with his whole game, but especially with the driver's putter was amazing yesterday too. So we're not going to like overlook that. He made a bunch of putts, but he gets that walk going, he gets the cocky strut going, and he plays really fast. So it's like Rory walks up to the tee, grabs his driver instantly, pegs that thing, and just rips it over and over again. It's like, fuck, dude. Like, you know, you're almost like if you're Scotty, you're trying to slow things down. You're trying to come up with some kind of other trick because it's just really fucking hard to keep up with that.
And also, Rory looks so autopilot when he's doing it, and Scotty, even when he's playing well, does not look very autopilot, right? There's a lot of weird kind of handsy finishes going on. His back foot seems to be like, you know, he's on ice skates. And then you've just got like the picture of grace and elegance playing next to you. It was, and you talked about this earlier, Riggs, about momentum and about energy. Like Rory made every putt yesterday. He couldn't make a single putt at St. Andrews. And he looked like a totally different human being. It's crazy how real that is.
Yeah.
Yes, it's very real. It's like that first putt. Like I remember in the final round with Rory, you know, you obviously never knew that Cam Smith was going to come out and shoot a million under and win the tournament. But like you could sense pretty early on when a couple putts don't drop early on, and it's Rory, and he's a guy that like, if anything that you ever will think about as negative is the putter, and it's like he can get in spots where he doesn't make putts. When those first couple don't go in, it's like, oh no. And of course they don't go in all day. And when that first hole or first couple holes, when he makes, you know, a 10-footer to save par, makes birdie early, and you see the ball roll into the hole for Rory, it's like, he's going to make putts today. And of course he fucking makes putts.
And it's funny, you know, we talk about all the new stats show that putting is not the number one indicator, right, of success. And that's true over the length of the season. If you look at the top 10 or the top 20 in strokes gained putting, it's a lot of guys that, you know, aren't top 10 players in the world, but for one round, because it's so binary, right? You either make it or you miss it. If you miss a putt by 6 inches, it's one stroke difference. If you miss a drive or a chip by 6 inches, you still have all that time to make it up. That's a difference. I mean, he made probably 4 putts yesterday that he didn't make at St. Andrews, probably a grand total of like a 7-inch difference. And one of them he's leaving with the trophy. And the other one, it's heartbreak. It's just, this game is just so small.
Fucking infuriating is what it is. And then good guy Rory obviously thanked this. He apologized to the Scotty family. He thanked Scotty immediately in his post-round interview, standing up there on the 18th green with the trophy and Monahan and the cameras and the crowd. First thing he says is he just I guess credited, I should say, Scotty on an amazing year. Now he had this phenomenal year. I saw him, I think, in his presser after. He was like, Scotty should obviously win Player of the Year, which I imagine will sway any votes that were potentially going to go Rory's way, so that Scotty will indeed win Player of the Year. But Rory, again, great year with everything going on. And I think that some people on Twitter yesterday, not Danny because he went dark, were making the point of, you know, Rory, when the Netflix doc comes out, whenever that's going to be, January, February, whenever the hell that is, Rory is going to be revealed how much of a burden this entire year presented to him and how much he had to handle off the course. And for him to go out and have, Brandel makes this point all the time, statistically the best year that he's ever had. Now, accomplishments-wise, he didn't win the majors that he's won in 2014 and other years, but he won the FedEx Cup. He won 3 times. He won $27 million. He finished top 8 in all the majors, including, you know, an Open where he really felt like he should have won, not choked, but just didn't make any putts. A Masters where he holed out in his second place. U.S. Open, I think, is when he was 8th. And then PGA US Open, he's like 3rd and 8th. Point is, top 8 in all the major championships. For him to have the year that he had with all the shit going on is going to come out and be like one of the most impressive performances for an entire year combining everything on and off the course that anybody's ever seen.
But, and I think it's a considerable but, it's kind of the perfect Rory McIlroy story arc, because you're right. It's been incredible, right? But he traded all for the major.
It's true.
And so you get this happy ending, right? Like, it's happy, right? He took away some of the pain of St. Andrews, and he won all this money, and he wins another FedEx Cup, but it's not quite redemption, right? Still, he would give up all of this, I think, for one of those majors. And it just, I can see the season of the Netflix thing ending this way, because it's like, yeah, there's this temporary sort of redemption, but it's not quite there yet. There's still more for him.
It's
been so long. It's just been way too long.
It's gonna be really cool when he wins a major, and it's such a bummer that it just wasn't the 150th Open at St. Andrews. It's just such a fucking bummer. It's like
that was one of my favorite like big GJ golf journalism thing was the morning of the Rory thing. I think Alan Shipnuck tweeted, he was like, I'm hearing reports of writers who went to old Tom Morris's grave this morning for inspiration. I heard of one guy who woke up 6 hours before to read the Old Masters, which is like some old damn Jenkins book from like the 1950s. So it's like, oh my God, this is such a ridiculous world that I'm a part of right now.
Yeah, they just lose their fucking minds over the entire thing. It's weird. Videos. Let's talk about videos real quick. We got so Monday night, this show comes out on Tuesday. So last night, Kevin Kisner and myself playing in the Barstool Classic. For all the hate, I mean, Kiz is obviously always phenomenal on video, but for all the haters of me and my golf game, this is must watch. You're gonna love it because it's probably the worst I've ever played in my entire life. We came off of no sleep, like 2 hours of sleep. Kiz had, I think, 15 minutes of sleep. Played a difficult golf course where you pretty much have to hit it straight, and I couldn't hit it on the property, so you're going to love that. Kiz was chirping me. It's a very good video. And then Thursday night, we kick off our Scotland travel series. So we were just talking about St. Andrews. Thursday night, Prestwick, the OG, the original host of the first ever Open Championship. The 150th was this year. We get the entire clubhouse tour, the history from the head pro. We play the golf course. It's windy. It was tough. It was Scottish. It was our first Scottish experience, links golf experience as a crew. Prestwick comes out Thursday night.
That's insane. I cannot believe that's already coming up. It feels like it's probably been a long time. I would assume to the listeners, it probably feels like it's been forever ago that we went to Scotland. But to me, it feels like we went last week. I don't know how they edited all that stuff within the time frame that we came back, and then all the stuff we've done in between.
They work hard. I saw them in action last week.
Oh, man.
I went into the office, and it's like you almost feel a little bad, right? You're like, shit. We just get to play golf, and then they do the hard stuff.
It's insane.
I feel like we borderline ruined Brendan Jones's life because
we just nuts.
Jake, all those guys. Because like you're saying, Danny, we just go out, we play, we act like assholes, and then we're done with that, and we just hand them 7 hours of footage, all these different audio tracks, and they just have to carve something out of it. They work incredibly hard.
Plus, we have a Breaking 90 coming out that we're about to film today. And I don't know when they're planning on releasing that. If this is coming out Thursday, we'll have to talk about that. If Scotland's coming out Thursday,
probably going to come out next Monday or Tuesday.
Breaking 90.
Yeah.
Okay. We have yet to tee off.
By the way, Danny, we're having another meeting right now.
We're having another meeting.
We're actually having a programming release meeting right now, live.
So we're about to go play at St. George's in like East Setauket or something like that, Long Island. Place is legit. I love this golf course. I played once on my way to a wedding out east, and like I remember having like a buddy who worked in like the bag room or something like that, got me out because I was killing some time before a wedding. I was like, what is this place? It looked like it was just a link style, really cool course. I think it's par 70. We've yet to leave. Obviously, we're on this podcast. Trent and I are about to go 2:00 tee time. I have a lot of confidence that Trent's going to play really well at this place. There's something about it. I remember being there, being like, it's easy to score here, but it's also a difficult golf course on the green. So if you can just like lag putt, which he's been doing well, you can still make your pars and your bogeys, and you can still get out of there with a pretty decent score. I'm really excited about this. Like, really excited. I think it could happen.
Over under today is 91.5. I'm a big over under guy, as Riggs knows. I've been texting him before his rounds. 91.5.
I like that. And I think I'm taking the under.
It's pressure.
It is.
I'm at the point now where I'm just like, I just got to get out there and I just got to play well. Like I don't want to make any predictions. I just want to go out there with a good headspace, try to play well, and hope at the end of the day that it's a number less than 90.
Yes. I just
Well
wanted to
put.
preface it because it's like when you do break 90, it's going to be the craziest moment ever. And like, I don't want it to just pop up. Like, I want people to know that pre-round, I think it could happen today.
Well,
You know
what's
what I
going to
mean?
happen? So
There's
what's
a
going to
feeling
happen
in the
if
air?
what happens if he goes out and shoots 88 today? Do you have to just
Hold
keep
on
a
to it.
secret?
Yep.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah, we did that when I shot 90 at Garden City Country Club. We just had to wait a week and do podcasts.
Did
for
you?
a week.
Yeah, you just had to pretend like you hadn't broken 100.
There you go.
Yes.
No, I can't break 100.
Yeah, it's so hard. But yeah, we celebrated on that green. We smoked cigars on that green, and we were like, I don't know what's gonna happen.
Yeah, I should actually get some today.
Wow.
All right.
Jesus.
You're gonna. I can't hear
Poor
you talking
guy.
about bringing cigars to the golf course.
The over/under has now been moved to 92.
Yeah, that's right. The more we talk about it.
Look,
Dude, I'm playing fucking Maidstone tomorrow. That's a track.
Ooh, that's
an
old
absolute
school.
track.
That's a
I've never
track.
played there. I've heard that place is that's like as old school as it gets. It's classic golf course right there.
I've been there.
Yeah.
It's incredible. It's beach, right? It's like a very rare combination of like a beach club vibe and an old prestigious golf course vibe.
I'm gonna love it. I think I saw the pictures. It's got the views. It's got really, really cool holes along the water. The whole thing. So I'm.
Are you
jacked
staying
up.
out? Are you staying that way tonight then? Or are you just gonna
No,
stay?
I'm just gonna rip it in the morning and then play. I think I got like a noon tea
I
time.
think their drink is like the South Shore. I think that's their go-to
Yeah,
drink.
I think that's it. I think that's what someone was
I
telling
will
me.
say last time I was there, they had paper straws though, which were a real shame. But I do the South Shore is their drink. It's great. Again, you get the whole beachy vibe. This stuff, I got all giddy because these courses you're playing, Frankie, it has to be so exciting because you're playing them when you're playing well.
100%, 100%.
What's your index these days, Frankie?
5.6, and I dropped it from a 10.7 in the beginning of the season.
What are you, Riggs?
I'm a 3.9 right now. I played a bunch of really good golf in North Carolina, and then I had a little bit of a setback Saturday morning. I played horrific, but those happen occasionally when you just had a lesson. I'm throwing that out. But, dude, last week I played the best golf probably I've ever played. I was just...
You guys aren't nearly as bad as the internet makes you out.
No, that's
Well,
true.
they hate, dude. Every shot we hit is on camera, so like they see all the bad ones. We're also a comedy brand, so like we highlight all the bad shots. I had the chipping yips for 5 full seasons, so that has been in everyone's mind of like this guy can't even get it onto the green when he's 10 yards off of it. And like obviously the only thing we tweet out is like the bad shots because who cares if I just hit the middle of the green and 2-putt for a par?
I care.
But you're always gonna show the stuff that. Like when you like top of your first drive when you play with us, we're gonna just
I'm hitting 4-iron, bro. It's not possible.
That's gonna go viral. Like when you
It
hit
is.
It's like Matty Fitz on the first hole of St. Andrews. You guys
Yeah.
remember when he was playing with Tiger and just absolutely full
Yeah.
fatted his 7-wood, maybe 125 yards, had it like
Exactly.
4-iron into the green.
Exactly.
It is crazy. And the point that Frankie's trying to get to is that, like, weirdly enough, people want to see horrible golf.
Yeah.
They watch great golf during the PGA Tour and during the season. You can watch guys, bomb at 330, flip wedge in, make a birdie. That's great. What apparently they like a lot is watching people top it off the first tee because they can make fun of it. And like, that's
Right.
just sort of the burden.
They
guess.
can't wait for you to fail, Danny. They
Well, I
cannot
mean,
wait.
look, they're at their desk, selling
Yep.
whatever. No
That's
disrespect
right.
to Lurch, maybe not sales, maybe doing something else.
Finance,
and they're
accounting.
finance,
Yep.
finance. And they're watching you guys, and yeah, they want to feel a little bit better.
Also,
about
golf's a
themselves.
game everyone plays, so it's like they're obviously better than you because they just like go out and play like with their buddies and they're better than you. But it is what it is. I've gotten over it, and I've already gotten over the chipping yips. I talk about them in the past tense. I do want to talk about how we film every single shot. When you do something that's like so incredible that's not on camera, like we always say, if we're just playing on the weekends with our buddies or something, we shoot a hole in one, like I'm just gonna kill myself because of all the videos that we've taken of our golf games. If we get a hole in one, it's like, how could that not be filmed?
Have you guys all had one?
No.
Neither
Well,
have I.
we've had one
None
on
of
the
us have had
cradle,
one.
but
Doesn't
no.
count.
So
Doesn't
that's
count.
good. The show still has no aces, which is nice.
The other day,
we should probably institute a par 3 rule when we're playing, even off video, that everybody films it.
this is what I mean. But the other day, I'm playing with
good idea.
superstar number 13 in New York Islanders, Matt Barzell. He was playing at Colonial, and we're playing in a great match. We're playing the par 5, the 11th hole. We were on the lakeside, Trent. So the second shot, the first one went into the trees for Matty. Second one goes into the bunker. He's got 115 yards in a bunker. And I stick one real tight to the hole. So I'm in a tap in for birdie. And we're in like a death match. We're playing 27 holes. We kept it going after 18. So this is like our, whatever it was, 19th hole, 20th hole. He gets in this bunker, and I was thinking about maybe filming it because I don't know, something about it just made me think like this could be a moment. I was standing on top of him. I had the green in my view, but I didn't do it. He fucking hits a 115-yard fairway bunker shot, hits the back of the green, slowly rolls, drains right inside the hole. The celebration was all time. Made an eagle, a 3 beat a 4, and then now he's up 1. We're going nuts, running through the bunker, and I'm just thinking like that video does like 3 million views if that's on camera. You know what I mean?
Damn,
It's one of those moments.
This job has kind of broken your guys' brains.
It does.
I
couldn't enjoy it.
All you think about when you do something good in golf is how many views it's going to translate.
Yeah.
It's like
definitely
that
part
could
of
have
it,
sold
for
like
sure.
a bunch of these hats. Like there's just like it's always adds into something.
That's different. That's different. You
Oh,
don't
it
have to get
is.
used to
That's
that.
the day Portnoy business. That's the day Portnoy. You don't miss anything. You don't.
It's
miss
always
anything.
bottom line. It's everything's bottom line. So am I gonna? Do you guys like still love golf, or do you kind of hate golf?
Oh,
Oh, I love golf.
Okay, good. I just if I start hating it, I'll probably quit.
But no,
because me loving golf
I'll
is
say
more
though,
important than
the frustrating part is, and I was thinking about this on Saturday when I played horrific, was like, it's one thing to play pretty bad golf when that's just like normal and you don't really care that much. It's like when you know you can play well or way better and then you play horrible, it's like, it's infuriating and it makes you hate being out and you just want to like go to the range or something. And I feel like that's really what like Trent's gone through in the last 2 years. Of like Trent for a while, I don't think you really cared like how you shoot. You're mostly just excited to be out there with golfing. It's great. This is beautiful. And then you really put effort in, and you know you can hit really good shots, and that you've put together really good stretches of golf. And when you can't do it, and you're not doing it the way that you know you are capable of, it's fucking infuriating.
Well, I think that's the biggest misconception that everybody has is that the better at golf you are, the more fun it is to play. I think it's actually probably the inverse. I mean, I think there's probably a happy medium when you're like shooting probably right around 100, like where you were before, Trent, where you're like, yeah, I'm not so awful. Like you can take me to a country club and I can, handle my own. But once you start getting to, breaking 80 and trying to, shoot under par and stuff, it gets worse. Definitely
Big
worse.
time, 100%. And like the days that you do film and you know that you like don't have it that day, it's even more infuriating because like you just like fuck. Yesterday I was.
Well, also you guys, and I'm
nobody.
gonna have to get used to this. You guys struggle in public.
Yep.
Yeah.
You can't just have a terrible round and go like it's on camera. Like you said, everything's on camera.
Literally on camera. It's fucking infuriating. Speaking of being on camera, Sling TV. Let's talk about Sling TV. We all have Sling. Sling's got something for everyone. All your favorite shows on your favorite channels already at your fingertips throughout the week. I was actually able to check in on the Tour Championship and what's going on. They got Golf Channel. You can get all the updates. I was watching last night. I went to pick up a little bit of dinner. I didn't want to miss what Brandel was saying, so I had Sling TV on my phone while I was going and picking up Chipotle for like the third time in 2 days while being back here in Arizona. Stay up to date with today's most trusted sources. If you're a news person, MSNBC, CNN, Fox News, they've got obviously sports. We talked a lot about baseball playoffs coming up, but you're going to have football, you're going to have hockey, you're going to have NBA all coming back to you, to your life. Getting Sling is easy. Sign up, start watching in just 5 minutes. You can stream on any device, record up to 60 or 50 hours with included DVR space. The best part is you can pause or customize your subscription at any time. Check out sling.com/barstool for special offers. Sling, the TV you love for a price you will love. Try us today. That's Sling TV.
Danny, do you care about NHL hockey? If you say no, you're going to become an ally of mine.
What's the answer?
Not really. Yeah, no. The answer is no.
That's great because this podcast it's a golf podcast, but there are stretches where it's a hockey podcast. And Frankie yells about the Islanders. Riggs talks about the Blues, and Lurch is a Rangers guy. And I just sit here and I just twiddle my thumbs. So it'll be nice to have somebody in this space who doesn't care about the
Right.
ice sport.
I don't care about ice. None of you are soccer fans, right?
No.
Okay, that's tough. So,
Well, you
All
can
right.
talk about soccer if you want.
no, I think talking about
We're
soccer with
talking
people
about
who don't-
soccer. Should we get a soccer
No,
team?
soccer.
Should we get a 4-play
You can
soccer
teach
team?
us about soccer. You
Well,
can
I
teach us
mean,
about soccer.
if you want to stay on Dave's good side, Spurs. They're off
Right,
to a great
Coys.
start. Coys, come on,
you Spurs.
Do you have
That's
a team?
right.
Do you have
No,
a
they're
team? Do you have a team, Rap?
I do like Spurs a lot because I'm a Jewish kid and they're traditionally the Jewish club. They call themselves the Yid Army. They're owned by Jewish owners. It's like a historically Jewish thing. So we wear it with pride. So I think we should lean into being Spurs to help. I feel like that will help me with Dave, right?
Yes.
Speaking of Jewish kids, have you watched The show The Rehearsal?
No.
Nathan Fielder. He had that show Nathan for You on
Oh
Comedy
yeah, I
Central.
know who he is. I know who he
Bro,
is.
what he does in this show, The Rehearsal, I tweeted about it last night. This is appointment television for any. You have to go watch it like today.
He's a comedic genius, that guy.
Genius. He
Yeah.
does this show called The Rehearsal, and just a synopsis of it to make you want to watch it. His thing is called the Fielder method, where every situation, like if someone's in a bad situation, he wants you to rehearse it. and the lengths that he goes to get people to rehearse like very like simple situations, like having to tell their brother that they want their grandpa's money from his will. He will go into
Make
depth,
them rehearse it.
dude, to the point like actors are playing people. He recreates their houses, bro. It is fucking insane. But there's a scenario with a Jewish kid, and he's like essentially turning them Jewish, and like the actor's parents are like, "Why are you doing this?" Dude, it is so fucking funny. But go watch it, Trent. You would love it.
Did you watch he did a 1 hour finale special called Finding Francis? Did you watch that?
No, but I'm gonna watch it tonight.
It was part of Nathan For You, and he's basically finds this Bill Gates impersonator who wants to track down guy's job is he's a Bill Gates impersonator, and he wants to track down his long lost love named Francis. That he's the guy's probably 80 years old. He hasn't seen the woman in 55 years. And I can't recommend it highly. It's one of those things, when you're watching a piece of content and you look around and you're like, I can't believe this is real. It's so funny. I can't even laugh.
Dude, that's exactly how the rehearsal is. You feel uncomfortable watching it.
Yeah, Nathan Fielder is a world that I haven't entered, but I know that it's every time anybody brings it up and you say you haven't watched it, they're like, fucking, I'm going to tie you to a chair and I'm going to make you watch it.
You'll leave with respect for him, like of like just how smart and funny he is.
All right. How about Game of Thrones? Are you a Game of Thrones guy?
I am. I haven't watched yesterday, but I am a Game of Thrones guy.
Okay.
You're going to have to keep up with that, though.
I'm going to watch today for sure.
Damn it. I have that on the outline, but that's okay. We can do it. We can do it next week.
You're going to have to keep up with Thrones. And then, hockey season, specifically in the beginning, it's going to be a clean slate for me and the Islanders. So, like, I'm going to be going fucking bananas.
Oh, yeah. Only at the beginning. Only at the beginning of the season will he go crazy about
the starting 0-0.
Rest of the year, he'll be fine. You won't even notice
it. Clean slate of your favorite team is the greatest time to be a fan. We have 0 losses.
This is your fault.
Like
Trent. I think this is your fault.
We have 0 losses. We're going into a season where perfection is still
August.
a possibility.
All right, it's
August.
I'm
I'm just saying. Guys are starting to get into town. Brock Nelson just had his last burger, his parlor burger in Minnesota last night. He's on his way to New York. It's just
imagine being in a person that like you have your last burger. You're so serious about your body and your physique and your performance that you just had your last burger until like fucking July.
I don't know that he takes it that serious. I meant he had his last parlor burger, but maybe he does.
But you know what I'm saying? Like he's gonna like fucking
I play with Barzell and I'm like, hey, I'm grabbing a transfusion and like a high noon. Like, what do you want? He's like, I'm a professional athlete. I'm just gonna have like a power bar. I was like, okay.
Cool, man. Cool. Very cool. Live. We got to talk about Live Golf. We haven't really yet, which is amazing. This might be the farthest that we've gone into a show in a year without getting to it. We're an hour and 45 minutes into this show. Today is Monday following Eastlake and the Tour Championship. This has been the long-rumored Exodus Day. The show will come out, Tuesday at midnight or so. So the announcements that we have thus far, according to my knowledge, are pretty much just the reports that had been out there, which is that Cam Smith, Mark Leishman, Joaquin Neiman, Harold Varner III, Anirban Lahiri, who I played with the other day in a Pro-Am at the Wyndham, who was a super nice guy, Cameron Tringali are all heavily reported to be departing. You go ahead, Danny. You lean.
I was going to say, did you ask Anirban about Liv?
We spoke about it a little bit, but I didn't ask him like, hey, definitively. I more was like, hey, I'll come. I'm wiping all my drives like 50 yards to the right, and we kind of talked about that. He was awesome. He was a super cool dude.
He's a nice guy.
Yeah, he was a funny motherfucker. He was great. Kid's like warm. He's the way he speaks and his personality. He's gonna be very funny to you. And he's like, I think you're gonna find him hilarious. And he was, because especially Kiz waited around on the 10th tee because they do like the 9-hole thing and then they swap, And so Kiz waited around on the 10th tee and he was chirping us. So Lahiri picked up really quickly. This is a pretty chirp-friendly environment, and so he was just firing on every single shot. So I liked him a lot. But anyways, he's rumored to be, or I guess reported. Rumored is a little bit too soft. Deeply reported to be going to Live. Shout out to Cam Young and to Hideki Matsuyama, who have both basically come out and confirmed that they will not be leaving and going to Live after months of being reported the opposite, or rumored, I guess. That would be more fair for them. Cam Young had, I thought, some really interesting and honest takes on it. He said he was very interested. That's a quote in Live. And it's, quote, fresh approach, but that he will remain with the tour. It's being talked about that his biggest part was he didn't want to sacrifice kind of cup competitions, team competitions, obviously at major championships. And then he also said, I wish it hadn't come along at this specific place in my career, which I actually think is ironic and incorrect because I think that this coming along at this point for him to play on the PGA Tour, it's going to make him richer than it ever would have previously. But point being, the latest with Liv, and that we're expecting in the next coming days, if not, maybe weeks, that there's going to be some pretty serious movement from the Tour to Liv.
Yeah, it could have been a lot worse for the PGA Tour, at least initially, right? When we heard, Hideki and Cam Young, those would have been two really big blows. I think the Australian team, we've known about that for a long time. Greg Norman is Australian, Cam Smith's Australian, Mark Leishman's Australian. The PGA Tour has ignored Australia for the last 20 years. I mean, the Australian Open and the Australian PGA Championship, these used to be big events, guy. Everyone would play. Tiger used to go down there a lot. Jack, the old school guys would go, and the PGA Tour has basically ignored Australia, and I think Australia notices that, and they're gonna probably have 2 events there, live events. So it makes a lot of sense for those guys. But do I dare say I think the PGA Tour has a little bit of the front foot right now? I mean, we have an idea, and the live people have been talking about how they have their 48 for next year. Right. They have their guys, the league. It's not going to be like this year where guys are joining and leaving because they're going to have their 48 players with 12 teams of 4 guys. It's going to be like the 48 guys in the first event are going to be the same as the 48 guys in the last event. And you basically have an idea of who those guys are right now, unless there's some big fireworks after the President's Cup, which is possible because those guys do want to play at the President's Cup. But if you look at the PGA Tour product and you look at the live product right now, at least for next year, the PGA Tour has the better players. It's just a fact of the matter. And so I think while Liv made a definitely a much bigger dent sort of in those early summer months, like in June and July when they got Bryson and when they got Brooks, those were big signings. A little bit, I don't know if disappointing is the right word if you're Liv, but I think they probably wanted one more big fish to go along with Cam Smith, who is the big fish. But it's not happening right now. And I think the PGA Tour is a little bit on the front foot after that. And I think hearing Cam Young say that the reason he's not going is because of these changes to the PGA Tour, that's big news. And Cantlay's another guy. Remember, we heard of Cantlay so many times.
Yeah.
If one of these young Americans went, that would have been a really, really big blow. Someone like Anirban Lahiri, it makes so much sense for this guy. He's Indian, maybe they're going to have an event there. I'm sure he'll be the face of a franchise. It just makes a lot of sense for him and the Australian guys. But those young Americans who the PGA Tour managed to keep around, that's really, really big.
Yeah, I agree.
Totally.
It's cool to hear that the changes that were made last week and that Tiger and Rory and their meeting I think it worked. I don't know that it hasn't completely extinguished Liv forever, but I think it worked. I think those names that we just listed, to your point, which you explained way better than any of us ever could, which is why you're at our fucking company.
I was just gonna say Cam Young doesn't walk with his arm swing. You ever notice that? I've been trying to figure out what it is about him that he looks so weird.
He walks with his arms.
Cam Young just walks with his shoulders forward and he kind of just walks. Watch him next time. It's they're dangling, and he always looks like he's just trying to get through the hole, and he's not having fun doing any of it. Yeah, almost further. It's almost further. It's like this.
Interesting.
Kind of like a penguin.
I tweeted this before my darkness. He's the oldest 25-year-old in the world.
That beard.
The posture.
He just looks like he's not having. It's like he's like, no, made another par. It's kind of like Pooh Bear, not Pooh Bear. What's the other one? Eeyore. Kind of like Eeyore. He's like, just made another par. Watch him next time. You're gonna see. Watch him next time. You're gonna see.
Welcome to the show, Dan.
Watch him next time. You're gonna see the dude. I kind of want to smack him and be like, dude, you're on the PGA Tour. You're having fun out here. Just take. He's just.
You could tell though, Riggs. He was conflicted.
Yeah.
I mean, he wanted that bad.
Yeah.
He wanted that. He wanted that money. I mean, and I don't blame him for a second. He was like, damn, it's kind of a bummer that it became so contentious, that it became so mutually exclusive, because they probably came along and they're like, all right, you've been a pro for 2 years. Let's give you $75 million.
Right. And that's hard for any human to say no to. And one thing I really hope we get more light shed on is the recruiting that's going on, right? There are clearly some big names that are hitting up.
I'll give you a little bit of light. I know that there's guys who are captains of these teams who are texting guys being like, I want you on my team. That's part of the deal. When you're amazing. When you're a captain, they give you equity, right? So Brooks Koepka, Phil Mickelson, they have equity in the team. So they have a vested interest in their team having better players and being worth more, so they can sell it and they can cash in. So it's not just that someone's saying $75 million. You might have Brooks Koepka in your ear saying, dude, I really want you on my team. We're going to get you the fat money and it's going to be great.
And there's no tampering rules in place, I would imagine.
I don't think there's any tampering rules because I think if the PGA Tour said you can't tamper with our players, Live Golf would say, okay,
Yeah, right.
we're still going to do it.
Right.
Like,
Right.
we're
That's-
trying to
it's like-
we're trying to destroy you.
And it's like any other sport, like NBA and NFL, like they say there's no tampering going on, but there's tampering. That's just the way life works.
So
Like,
funny.
it's
The
like-
day one of free agency in every league, there's a million, like let's say it opens up at 12 p.m. There's a million deals that go through. Are you telling me that they all were like, hey, what's up? Like, you want to sign here? No, it's been done for months.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. See, that's such a fascinating dynamic to me. Imagine on one end you have Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy text you like, here's the deal. It's going to be great. We're really working. This is what my life's been like. And on the other end, you have Brooks Koepka and Greg Norman being like, look at these fucking jets we're taking to these events. It's so great. It's such a different look. It's fresh. Like that outside, because all anybody harps on is the money, which is clearly the biggest factor. Everybody knows that. But there are other things, like if you're torn or if you're even considering it or if you're doing a fucking pros and cons list as a person, and ultimately you're thinking that like you're kind of 50-50, that recruiting process is enormous that is going on.
And it's a way less stressful environment. I went to both live events in the US and like, I'm not going to say that these guys aren't trying because they're professionals and they're competitive, but it is low stress, right? It's like you're contracted for the rest of the year. I mean, if you've got millions and millions of dollars coming no matter what, it's if you're looking at it from a human perspective, you're like, okay, I can work and grind my ass off, hopefully get to Eastlake and do this and do that, or I can just sign the dotted line. Like it's tough. And that's what I've been saying this whole time. I'm sure it's the same thing with you guys. Every time you play golf with someone, what do you think about live? What do you think about live? And it's like, look, I totally 1,000,000% understand it from an individual perspective. If someone came to me with that offer, it's really, really hard to turn down. Do I think it's great for the overall health and ecosystem of the game? Probably not, but that's not their job. That's not each individual player's concern to be concerned with the state of professional golf as a whole. They're trying to make their money, and I totally understand it.
Yeah. No, it's 100%. And that's, yeah. We've talked about that for like 75 hours. I tell people that at the Classic now too. Like, so what do you think about this live versus the tour stuff? And I'm like, dude, you're going to have to go listen to 75 hours of podcasts because I don't know how we could do it in this 30-second interaction we're going to have. We got to talk about the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. I love these guys when they send us things, little PSAs to get into. A lot of times they used to send us the one that don't get hit by a train one, which I always appreciated. Now it's, are you one of those people who thinks it's okay to drive stoned? What's the worst that can happen? You end up driving below the speed limit. It's no big deal, right? Well, that's wrong. The truth is your reaction times slow way down when you are high. You not only put yourself in danger, but everyone else around you. Talk about a buzzkill. So stop kidding yourself. It's not okay to drive high. If you've been using marijuana in any form, do not get behind the wheel. If you feel different, you drive different, drive high, get a DUI. That's our line right now, folks. This is incredibly important. We're trying to save lives out there. We're trying to make sure everybody's more healthy and safe and the whole deal. So if you feel different, you drive different, drive high, get a DUI. A little PSA from the fellas today. So we're trying, we're going to hit you with some ad reads and we're going to hit you with a little public service announcement.
How do they check like your highness level?
Don't ask questions, Frankie. That was such a great message, and you're going to come out here and be like, actually, you might be able to still get away with it.
How do they check your highness level?
I don't know.
They hold 3 cheese puffs in front of you and see how many you eat.
I believe they do a cheek swab, Frankie.
They make you
They-
watch Harold and Kumar. What is
They
it?
do like a cheek swab, and like there's like residue in your mouth or something like that to prove you've been smoking.
Jake Bass, big weed guy. I love that, but he doesn't do that when he drives.
No,
No,
that's
never.
dangerous. If you feel different, you drive different, drive high, get a DUI. That's for everybody out there that's listening. I do want to say I caught up with the Manti Te'o documentary.
Dude, do you agree with me?
The big guy, Jack Dickey, by the way, the bigger guy from Deadspin, I sat next to him at my first job for Sports Illustrated.
Really?
Really?
Yeah, he worked at Sports Illustrated after Deadspin. 1 hour is not a long time to wait for a response on a story.
I was
just
gonna
put that out
say,
there.
did
It's
he
not.
have like no journalistic integrity when he was sitting next to you?
I've never, and again, Deadspin was a different beast than Sports Illustrated, but 1 hour for a response on a story that big is quick.
And nobody else was working on that story. Like I know, obviously hindsight's 2020, but I'm pretty sure nobody else was working on that specific.
Riggs, what were your
I've never
initial-
not given someone like the night.
Right.
Right.
Riggs, what'd you think?
Man, did I really realize how much headline journalism affects reputations? Because I was like, I imagine everyone else, where I saw the headline. I'm sure I read a few articles. I listened to a few, first takes or whatever the hell was going on at the time, and was like, Jesus, what a loser. Maybe he's in on it. How do you get catfish like that? You never met somebody. You're one of the biggest stars in college football at a place like Notre Dame. Jesus, he should be embarrassed. He has to be in on it. What a sketchy idiot. And then when you actually watch the documentary, maybe the most sympathizable, figure I could possibly imagine. The whole thing makes sense. The whole fact that his whole life is football and school and religion. He's not out there trying to meet a million girls. So if he meets one who's Polynesian and who talks to him the way that this person, who's the worst person in the world, was speaking to him, and that gives him more wholeness in his life and makes him feel good and positive about the direction he's going, totally. That's just clearly it was working because he was having the best career ever. So it was working. It wasn't like it was ruining his life. And then and then the glow up part that you guys talked about. He looked fucking amazing.
Oh.
He looked like a fucking king shit when he was in there and he gave his little monologue at the end. I was like, I almost fucking dove out of the plane. I was like, I could just fly now.
I was
amazing.
crying like a little baby at the end of that thing.
And what you realize is the levels to catfishing, right?
That guy is much of an asshole. He's talented.
Dude,
Yeah, true.
Playing 18 characters. And then you hear catfishing now and you're like, dude, it's one person using one voice. Go see them one time and you're gonna figure out that they're not who they're saying they are. Naya is playing 15 characters. Of course, you're gonna think that it's a real person.
The picture that she was able to send, that was a true jaw-dropping moment. That was like, wait, what?
Just a great way
he got her in on it.
Imagine not hitting next episode when that happens at the end of the first episode. Just as good as it gets. So yeah, he looks great. That haircut is made for Manti Te'o. It's an incredible documentary.
Incredible. And yeah, I guess
we definitely think there's no way he was involved, right? Consensus?
No way, dude. No way.
Okay.
I will
say, make sure we're united here,
dude.
He's also at fault for being gullible and so nice, and that's his fault. He's not completely. You don't just say that could happen to anyone. That only happens to Manti Te'o. It was a 1 in a billion chance that happens to the star college football player in the country.
Agree, but that's also
no reserve.
He's also such a
lonely Mormon kid from
Hawaii. That's what I mean. He's from Hawaii.
Right.
He's
right.
So
that's a 1 in a
different.
trillion chance. That's what I'm saying. You're talking about a 1 in a billion type.
It's a perfect crime or a perfect
dude. The moment that really stuck to me too was where he's talking about how he knows at the Heisman ceremony. And they are asking him questions, and he gives a Lene answer. And then he's like, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to say that this girlfriend that I've been dating for 3 years, who I thought just died of a car crash with leukemia, came back to life and called me again last night? Imagine he says that at the Heisman ceremony. Instead, he's like, the hardest part for me was when I lost my girlfriend and my grandma on the same day. You look back and you think, what if he had just been like, I got to level with you guys right here, right now.
Some crazy shit going on.
15 million people watching him. That would have just blown the whole world up.
I got some secondhand excitement too because I think it's senior in high school when all that happened, and just seeing Johnny Football win the Heisman was
that was crazy when he was in there. I was like, wow, it's Johnny Football.
You forget that he was a 19-year-old kid once who didn't chain smoke cigarettes. It was cool to see Johnny Football like that.
Totally. So yeah, it was must watch. Frankie had told me we were in Toronto. He's like, this is must watch. You got to check it out. So I watched it on the plane and yeah, I mean, if you don't get emotional at the end of that, we've already documented that I cried 5 times during Crazy Rich Asians on a plane. So I think planes mess with your emotional stability when you're witnessing things. But that documentary,
I watched Manchester by the Sea on a plane once, and I swear I thought the flight attendant thought they had to ground the plane.
That is a harrowing movie.
That movie is at one point, I was crying and I go, what is happening? I was just what is happening?
Dude, I refuse to watch that movie. I've never seen it because I hear it's such a emotional bear.
The whole thing's sad.
I wouldn't even call it a roller coaster because there's no up.
There's never up. It's the only movie I've ever seen where it just ends and you're just
you're like, wow, this is a really sad man. And then you find out why and you're like, this makes total sense why he's really sad. And now I'm really sad.
Anybody while we're on the TV subject, anybody on the show watch Justified?
No.
I started watching it. I needed something to watch, and it's this Timothy Olyphant show. People love it. People who love Justified say it's their favorite show ever. It's really good. I watched the whole season over the weekend. It's really good. It's it's kind of a procedural of of a U.S. Marshal, but Timothy Olyphant is great and the characters are great. So I'm excited to continue with that.
All right, there you go. That's a good rec.
Okay, recs are key. Everybody's got to have. I've been doing a lot lately. Just the Netflix scroll to nothing.
How was Thrones last night? Was it good?
Good.
It was good. It was slow, but it was
Good, but
First one was good. I
yeah,
thought.
slow in the right ways. I thought, Frankie, of like, the old school like politicking and like there's a lot to break down,
Yeah.
right? It
Oh,
wasn't
it's
just
the
in your
best.
face.
Yeah, someone said that I saw some tweet. It was like almost like a soap opera, but in the Thrones setting.
That's what's so good about like season 3 and 4 about Game
Yes.
of Thrones is all just like backroom deals, and then it
That's why I
became
said
like
That
a
was the
Marvel
whole
movie,
fucking
good
thing. That
versus
was the whole
evil.
fucking thing.
100%. And you haven't watched it yet, so I don't want to give too much away. But like I said to one of my buddies last night, that that second episode is what Thrones used to be, where like it's a full hour episode about like one or two things within the same like area. Like, so like the whole episode's about like one conflict.
Well, they're back
and,
in
like, how are
George's
they-
world, dude. They're back in this
Right.
is George at the wheel.
And
True.
like in seasons, what was it? Six episodes, 6 seasons was the final
I think
one.
there
or
was
7?
8. I think there was
I think
8.
the last one
Eight.
was
The last
season 8.
season 8 of Game of Thrones, it was like everything was happening so fast. You're in this, you're at the wall, you're at King's Landing. It's like you don't know what's happening. And this is all just like, hey, we're all like around this table for the next hour.
True.
Like we're gonna figure this out. It's like I really like that.
I don't want to give anything away either, but we talked a little bit about it on Game of Stools. We talked a lot about it on Game of Stools. Check that out. Podcast video on My Mom's Basement.
Robbie Fox
talked
with the
about-
dragon on his shoulder is all time.
Amazing.
So good.
We talked about how Thrones has this ability to put you in morality situations where both are horrible, but you got to pick one. And that is what they're great at. No other show does that. They put you in a situation where both things are horrible, but you got to pick one. And you feel bad about it, but it's just the way of the Thrones world.
Yep.
It's crazy.
Yep, that's a really
Sort of like the Lurch situation a little bit.
yeah. It's like it's tough spot you
Too
don't want to
soon?
be in, but you gotta
Too soon?
Real tough.
you gotta
Really
make
tough.
you gotta make tough calls. That is like the whole fucking episode was that. That's what the whole fucking series is basically. It's like you just don't want to.
Hey, you know what?
Decisions.
That's what life's all about.
100%. Life ain't fucking candy canes and gumdrops.
I'm
Wish it was.
obsessed
I
with the
like them all.
dragons. I'm so glad we get pretty much dragons in your face this whole time. I'm bummed that they're gonna die, but I do like that they're there.
Yep.
Yeah, like 100 years before you know they're dead, right?
But they're fast forwarding. I feel like, but yeah, I mean, we know that they don't survive overall. We know that. That's a fact. Which is again, it's a damn shame. Toronto, I just have to say, Toronto was awesome. Canada was awesome. I will say so far, of all the Barstool Classics we've done, the best overall just energy and combined crop of Barstool Classic participants. The putting contest Thursday and Friday in Toronto was just, there was a lot of excitement. There was a lot of hoopla. There was a lot of energy. There's a lot of like cheering and chanting and people going nuts. Canadian people are so fucking nice in general, start to finish.
Oh my god.
So, and they like to just drink and have fun, and they only get like 2 weeks of nice weather the whole year, so they just are out
Was it nice when you guys were there?
living it up. We got sneaky lucky. The first day it rained a pretty good amount, but the second day was supposed to be forecast wise worse, and then the second day was actually beautiful the whole day. So I would say overall it was fine.
It was an amazing event. Yeah, that city, that was my first time ever in a real Canadian city. I've been to Niagara once, just like going on the other side of Niagara Falls, and that was just a weird place. But that was my first time ever seeing, like the CN Tower, and our hotel was right in the mix. We were right next to Scotiabank Arena. We were right next to Rogers Center. Just like getting dinner there was cool. We went to like the my first day, we went to like their Ruth Chris equivalent, which I think was called the Keg. I was telling everyone, yeah, I went to the Keg Steakhouse, and they're like, oh yeah, it's just like a million.
chain.
of them.
Yeah, you
I
went to like a chain.
I thought
You
it
went
was.
to Outback.
Yeah, I thought it was.
You thought you'd uncovered the cool hip spot.
Yeah, so like, nope. There's if you look at
We
you
went to
type in
Sizzler.
Keg, exactly. But dude, this place was legit. But yeah, it was great, man. And that course was phenomenal. Eagles Nest,
Phenomenal.
like really high elevation, but in the middle of a regular town, and then you just saw the whole skyline of Toronto in the background. Toronto's a really cool city. So
Did you guys see Drake?
No.
no, but like obviously, like you're picturing him like sitting on top of the CN Tower, like his album cover. So
Is his presence felt in terms of like, is he?
dude, there was a gelato shop. There was a gelato shop that was like, what is it? Ovu, whatever.
OVO.
OVO.
Ovu.
Oh,
Whatever, bro. I'm, I
God.
just.
The oldest 29-year-old when it comes to hip hop.
OVO.
Like ovulating?
I just, I don't know. And I knew when I started saying it, I was going to get exposed
Ovu?
for it.
Ovu.
I was going to say OVO, and I thought that would be wrong.
It's October's very own.
Yeah, I don't fucking know any of that stuff. I'll tell you all the Foo Fighters albums. They fucking
Cool.
There's a gelato shop. Cool, he says. There's a gelato shop that was like OVO, and it just played Drake music, and all the flavors I think were Drake themed. I think he owns it, and that was definitely like, oh, this is Drake City for sure.
Interesting.
You just tell, but there was no billboards. But that was the only one I noticed. It was right in the heart, right next to the CN Tower.
And then last thing I'm going to address here on our 2.5 hour show. And this is going to be brought to you by Cross Country Mortgage. They like to do last question. This is going to be my last topic, basically, that I want to get into. It's pretty general. Cross Country Mortgage. Frankie is still, I think, like, best friends with BFFs with his guy, Chris Devon. Is that your boy from
My mortgage
Cross Country
lender,
Mortgage?
yes.
Yeah, mortgage lender.
Yep.
Set Frankie up with his home and got him a phenomenal
right.
deal, and their closing times are amazing. We're obviously known here for having an opinion on foreplay at Barstool Sports. We're usually spot on. That's not true. That's why we hired Danny Rapaport. But our hottest new take, it's not a bad time to buy a new home. In fact, for some, it could be the perfect time. Cross Country Mortgage listens, understands, and communicates throughout the entire loan process. Easy for me to say. Provide more loan options tailored to your financial capabilities. Innovative technology focuses on what's important to fulfill your loan needs. Faster closing times than the competition. Stable monthly payments and low to no down payments. See if you qualify today. Visit ccm.com/barstool right now. Cross Country Mortgage LLC, NMLS 3029. All loans subject to underwriting approval. Visit www.nmlsconsumeraccess.org. This is the final topic, and I'm just going to say that lines in general, standing in line, waiting in line, lines simply should not exist as normal. They should only be the exception when something goes wrong. And I was thinking about this at Heathrow, and we had to travel through London to go to Scotland. And I was thinking about this again when we went from Toronto through Pearson, which actually wasn't even that bad. Pearson, and went back to Phoenix. It's incomprehensible to me that lines are just accepted as normal. Like, they'll just tell you, like, yeah, whenever you go through customs there, it might take about 2 hours. And I'm like, well, no, if you know the expected amount of people and flow time, you should just have the proper amount of people to handle that. Why would you in any way design something where it's normal that person will have to stand in one area for an hour and waste all of their time? It should only be accepted when things go wrong. If, like, something breaks or somebody quit, or like when a chef quits and you can't get food, that's understandable. The kitchen doesn't work. If there's just like, yeah, you have to go stand in line for 2 hours, that's just how it works. Fucking hire more people. Like, it doesn't, how do you design a system that the normal is just lines? It makes no sense whatsoever.
Speaking of lines, we had a guy in our crew in college. Shout out David Kim. He was like a math guy. So when we were standing in line,
I thought you were going to say he just snorted cocaine all the time.
No.
Sorry.
Well,
sorry.
You never know what you're going to
we
get.
won't
on
talk.
this show.
Anyways, and we were like
lines in college. Sorry, go ahead.
it's fair. And we would always ask him. We'd be in line at a bar. We'd be like, dude, how fucking long is this going to take? And he'd be like, oh, the turnover rate is about one person every 44 seconds. There's about 20. And then he would give us an estimation. Maybe like, this might be about a 17-minute line. And he was pretty good at it. And it made it fun because now we were trying to see if he was right.
But if he's good with math,
I
and
like
he could
that.
do it that simply, then like people whose job it is to design flow of things,
There
just
is.
create
It's
it where
called-
lines shouldn't be normal.
Well, it's like industrial engineering. It's like a whole subset of like when they're building, like stadiums and stuff, they put the bathrooms in certain spots for line optimization. So they're trying.
It's like the
Obviously
side
not
effect-
succeeding.
It's the side effect of capitalism. People want things and they're willing to wait in line for them.
But
Like the only place in the world that has figured this out is Augusta National with their concessions. And they figured out
Live golf.
flow.
Live Golf actually no lines because they had like so many concessions and they cap how many fans. It's actually smart. I mean, they're losing money on it, but there's no lines.
But and so like with the line situation at the airport, what I understand is like if you arrive right and you have to check in at American Airlines, and then you get there and there's like 40 people waiting in the little snake line just to check in and check your bags. I'm like, well, they know what time the flights are, so they know what time people will be arriving, so they know how many people will be arriving because they've booked the flights. So like maybe if there's an influx of like, instead of X amount of people arriving 17 minutes early. They arrived 2 minutes early. So maybe there's a slight jam occasionally. That's, again, should be the exception, not the norm. But they know precisely how many people are coming to the airport because those people have booked flights. How can you have massive congestion of line? That means you just built it in to accept the lines. We cannot just accept lines.
Well, airlines are infamously understaffed right now, right? Like that's a very known thing. And you're also talking about a very specific scenario. Like if you're at a hot dog stand and there's a line, just a lot of people want fucking hot dogs.
But then you need to just have more people to, you know what I'm saying? Like if
yeah, but then if you're at a hot dog stand and you have all these workers expecting a really big line, then like what happens when there's no people?
But you know every day when there's a massive influx. Like we would do this. I worked valet at the hospital and in like that was like my high school job. And we would have from like the lunch rush from like 11:15 until 1:15, we would have 4 more people would come in and work valet so that there was never like a significant line. And like I said, things could occasionally go wrong or you could get a rare influx, but it would never be like all of a sudden a massive like normal just line. And what I'm saying is a lot of these things we're describing, it is just accepted as normal day to day that there's going to be a huge line. That's crazy to me.
I do agree that the burden ultimately falls on the customer in a situation like that. It's far like people, those people still want to go on those flights. Like they're not going to leave. So what are they going to do? They're going to hire more staff. They got to pay more people. No, they're going to have 2 people working when there should be 6, and they're going to make the same amount of money, actually more because they're not hiring as many staff workers.
But they're subsidized. I feel like airlines are subsidized. So it's like they need to just.
Then now you're starting to say words that I don't totally understand. So that's going to put me in a position where I can't argue anymore.
But I feel like this is going toward like a capitalism, socialism type situation.
No, but I also think there's an advantage to like an airline being known for like having the proper amount of, whatever staff to help
people
so that
working
you don't
there
ever have lines. So it's like, yeah, when you book that airline, like they're really good with the thing. I don't know if it's a bigger airport thing, like you're talking about with kind of industrial design and how, I would guess that like the newer airports and the newer stadiums, like we were talking about, have significantly less lines. So there's clearly a way to do it. Augusta National has figured it out. So like I just find it when I'm standing in a line. Again, if it's an exception, if there's like an accident on the highway and now I'm in basically a line of traffic, I understand that. But these things being just accepted as like, this is what it is every day, to me is insane as people that we're trying to always figure out how to optimize and make people's lives better with technology and with entertainment and other things. Like if you just didn't make people wait in line for hours every day, their lives would be way better.
I have a no line policy when I'm going out now. Like I won't wait in like a line to get into a bar. Like if we can go in or like, someone's got to plan that, but I'm never like just going to wait in line and chase the night. Like that's
I kind of like, I'm in on lines. The more the world changes, there's so much technology and entertainment where
you just look on your phone all the time.
It's inherently human. We've been getting in lines for however long.
Online.
What?
Getting on a line?
Getting in line. Whatever. See, that's the other argument. But I'm just saying, like, lines are something you just have to accept as a human being because I don't think things are moving fast enough where they're going to figure out lines. They're going to figure out a lot of other stuff.
Speaking of capitalism and socialism, Canada, holy fuck, they can't get anything into that country. Like every single person that was playing in the Toronto Classic was like, dude, like you don't even know what it's like to like be a fan of an American like brand and try and get your guys' stuff here. Like we have, and they're so thankful for it. Our merch team has built a Canadian website that like I think we have a limited amount of stuff on there because we use a different company and we use a different warehouse and stuff, so we don't have every product. But when they're able to buy one of our things duty free, where like the country isn't taxing them more on all these imports into their country, they are going like they're over the moon about it when they can get a shirt where they don't have to pay duty. Like the transfusion mix, they can't get it into Canada. This one guy's like, dude, you wouldn't believe what I had to pay to get 1 box of Barstool's transfusion into my house. He's like, I just had to get 4 cans just so that I could like tell my buddies I made a transfusion with your guys' stuff, and it was like $100. He's like, it was insane. Like it's like I can't get it in here. Like we couldn't get the Bioltye into Canada. They like stopped it at customs. Like, why can't we get stuff into this country?
I did get that sense from them in Canada too, that they are not happy at some of the decisions that they're just not allowed to control in their own lives. A big one was when the COVID-19 pandemic, if you guys remember that one, that they just weren't allowed to like breathe, basically.
Bro, these Canadian citizens and like these guys that were playing the Classic looked like they had. I mean, we've all been through like a lot of stuff in the last couple of years, but they looked like they were like through battle, man. They're like, bro, they canceled golf for like 2 years. They wouldn't even let them on the golf courses.
Yeah, I remember there was like a whole thing where I don't know if you were tweeting about it, Riggs, or there was like public thing of like, let these people play golf.
Yeah, it was like
they canceled golf.
I remember like last
for a long
year.
time.
Yeah, it was like last year in the springtime. You know, it was approaching the deadline where they were going to be able to golf for the first time since like the beginning of COVID, and then they like extended it or something, and people were losing their minds last year. I remember that. So
it's the one thing we could do in this country when that was all.
That's why everybody did it. There's like 7 million new golfers now in America because of it. All right, I think that's all I got. Big thanks to our sponsors.
I have one question. Sure. We all agreed that Rory was like, if the PGA Tour could pick one person to win, it would be Rory. So who would Liv pick to win their tour championship? Would it be Phil?
Wait, win yesterday's tournament?
No. Like, they have the year-end event at Trump, like the Live Tour Championship. Like, who would they choose to win their flagship event? If the PGA Tour chose Rory, would it be Phil?
Yeah, I think it would have to be Phil.
I don't know. I feel like it might be like DJ or Brooks. They need like a big winner.
No, but I mean, if it's not Phil, it's probably DJ or Brooks or like Cam Smith at this point. If he's going to go,
yeah.
Bryce, yeah.
But I still think Phil is like the talisman, like Rory is for the PGA Tour.
I think Rory's more of like the future of the sport winner. Like, this is our guy. He's going to be the next, like, he's going to be the king that takes this generation to where they need to go. And I don't think Liv's thinking about that. I think they're thinking about headlines. Like, Phil would be such a headline. Like, I don't think they're thinking about like, oh, this win would set up the future of Liv.
Yeah.
Like
Cam Smith.
Right. No, they don't give a fuck about that. They're like, Phil Mickelson started this tour with us, and he just won the thing, and now he's lifting a trophy over his head.
But I do
That's
think
definitely
next to Trump.
I do think they would like open champion and players champion wins like Live final. I think they would like to elevate all those things onto the same
oh yeah,
spot.
like if Cam
the graphics game would be strong.
Oh yeah. Greg Norman's Instagram would be going crazy.
I love
think if Cam Smith had won this weekend. Like, if Cam Smith wins this weekend, I think a war breaks out.
I'm obsessed with Greg Norman and how much of a lightning rod he knows he is right now, and he'll occasionally just post on his Instagram like him fishing or something. It's you're just waiting for him to drop a nuke every time he posts on Instagram, and it's just him holding like a fish, being like, "Great weekend."
Well, he's still like a pitch man. He's still like a pitch man for a lot of companies, so he still has to do like a lot of like sponsored ads and stuff. And he's the commissioner of this league.
What do you think Cam Smith's speech would have been had he won at East Lake?
He would have played it cool.
You think
he's not gonna like tear it down?
I mean, Monahan would have had to say like that would have been insane. I don't know how that would have went down.
Cam Smith doesn't seem like a guy who wants to pick up any flag in terms of like, this is why I'm here. He's like, I just want to make a shit ton of money and disappear.
I mean, I really think winning that major was the nail in the coffin for the PGA Tour, because Cameron Young was saying that he's not worried about it. Now Cam's into them for the next 5 years, so he's thinking like they're gonna figure this out.
Briggs, before we end this podcast, we've been doing it for 2 hours and 20 minutes. We got to go try and break 90. Did we figure out the cooler situation in Canada?
No, so 2 guys stole coolers. So we have our branding team, and we have it on film. We have the security camera.
Bro, it's a ridiculous video.
You got 2 red-handed.
Oh my God, you have 2 grown-ass men who played in the Thursday Barstool Classic or Friday.
I think it was Friday.
The Friday Barstool Classic in Canada at East Lake. The video from the security cams is like them like parking the car quick, running out of the car, opening up the trunk and like shuffling these fucking coolers into their trunk and looking around, hitting the like they hit the button on their trunk. It slowly goes down. They like get in the front seat and they drive away. It's crazy. Like 2 grown-ass men that fucking played in the event, went to the disciplinary
process.
Well, I think usually we publicly shame them.
Yeah,
right? Like
the problem is we don't know who they are yet. Like we have like their, we have their license plate number, but I don't know what our resources are to like. We're not the CIA. I don't know what our resources are to like getting to the bottom of the whole thing. But the camera footage is good enough to see, their outfits and their car, and we have another clip of their car. So but it's not like their faces. We don't have like facial recognition technology.
You guys take pictures of every team that plays in the Classic.
There was a photographer there.
So you could cross-reference it by their outfits really easily.
Yeah, easily. Totally. So, we know there. We'll basically reach out probably to them directly, have them return them, ship them. They'll have to pay for it, and then we will publicly shame them. Now, it is weird.
Well, if they don't give it back, then we'll publicly shame them.
I might do it anyways. Might do it anyways
Wow.
because this is pure theft caught on camera. I mean, it's ridiculous.
It was a
And
wild
it's
video.
Our branding and marketing team, they put a lot of effort into this. Like these coolers, I know they're just cool. They're not just coolers. Like those sick coolers
Yeti
nowadays
coolers,
are
whatever they are.
expensive, and they get them branded with Barstool Classic and Truly and Peter Millar. Like they're really cool. That's why they fucking stole them. And so now our team, which like now they're just down 2 coolers when they have to pack their whole thing up. They got to drive the truck across the fucking world, unpack everything, get going. Now that team has to figure out we have a cooler deficit. We got to get new cooler. Just make somebody else's job fucking way shittier. So that's why they're going to get publicly shamed, I would say, regardless of what their actions are from this point in.
Yeah.
That's theft. You
guess-
just stole from Barstool. I mean, that's just theft. You can't steal from people. It's one of the 10 commandments.
It was the way the guy like ran.
Literally
to
a
the
10
car.
commandment.
We got
Literally
our
one.
guy right here. It's one of our 10 commandments. Can't fucking steal. Jesus. All right. I think that's it. Danny, welcome to Barstool. This was a great, I would say, overall synopsis of what to expect here.
Podcast got better today.
I think
I
so.
think the listeners will have to figure that out. Like
I love you
go
guys.
right away.
I'm so happy to be here. Everyone is listening. You guys are fucking incredible, allowing us to do this crazy job that we do. And I promise you that I will work so fucking hard to make this better.
And one thing that I was going to add to one of your points earlier was that the cool part, you were saying like it's really cool to be here and like with you guys, and I want to do it for you and how hard the production guys work. The biggest fuel that you'll end up realizing is the fans. Like the amount of fans and listeners and viewers that we have that we interact with.
Walk
everywhere.
next to you. You talk about walking inside the ropes. I've walked next to you. You're more famous than 95% of the players.
And
It's
so
coming for you now.
it is gonna be like that is what drives you is how many people come up and like love what we do, what you're gonna end up doing, and that's gonna make you wake up every day and be like, fuck yeah, I'm gonna go create more shit.
I've been reading like someone sent me a Reddit thread, and like people are like talking about it. It's very different for me. You guys, you have to understand, like you guys have been dealing with this for a long time. This is my first time in this world, and it's very surreal to me that there are people who care, but there are a lot of them, and it's special. It's really freaking cool. The bond that you guys have with your listeners is really different than what anyone else has in media, and that's one of the main reasons why I wanted to come over, is because like that is really, really strong. That is stronger than anything I've dealt with before.
Welcome to the team. This is a great start. We'll be back per usual on Thursday. We got a bunch of videos coming out this week. Hit it hard.
Hit it hard.
Hit it hard.
Say that at the end of the show.